All right.
Oh, that's
Do you
so
think you
low.
can save them all, Charles?
I love it, X-Men.
No new list. Sorry, that's gonna stick in my head all night. I apologize beforehand.
Oh, hold on. It's not muted. All right. It's a Madden advertisement, so I'm okay with it, but I still want it muted. All right, just to make sure Skype's not being stupid, you guys can hear this, right?
Correct.
Hello, this is Community Manager
can hear that?
Bashiak, and you're listening to...
Yep, I hear that.
Okay.
There we go. That's a little better. Now I can actually see myself instead of being all up in my face.
Hey,
Nate, are you gonna announce it on the Tadpool thingamajigger?
Yeah, I might as well.
Oh, wait, gotta turn that down.
So who else cried during that movie? I know I did.
I did.
I did not.
I boohooed like a baby.
I must be a horrible human being.
Well, I only boohooed in one
You
scene.
don't care about Han Solo.
I do care about Han Solo. I'm still kind of indifferent about how the whole thing went down, but I kind of understand they sort of needed it to happen. So
They
it's
need
fine.
they need to kill off the characters before the actors die, because if the actor dies preemptively and then they have to kill the character off screen, people would be pissed.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Also, you need to remove the especially Han Solo, because he's so. Well, we should. Is this live stream material that we should be talking about?
Spoiler alert!
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I know.
No,
well,
I don't care about the
stream.
spoiler,
The
I don't give a
stream
shit.
is technically on.
Yeah, I don't know if you have a structure to how you want to
No,
do this.
I haven't. No, once I'm gonna. Audacity's recording the streams on, so this, is all quote unquote pre-show stuff. I kind of want to get Sean in here once he's ready to go, but no, I'm gonna flag the bumpers, introduce everybody, and then it's just gonna be an all-out assault on who wants to talk.
What is the channel on Twitch? What's it called?
Well, Twitch is twitch.tv/Inked Geek Studios, but the chat room we'll be using is embedded into the studio live page, so it's inkedgeekstudios.com/live.
Okay, I was trying to find our video stream on Twitch.
Oh yeah, it is that one, but it's the same. It's the same stream on the website. I don't bother trying to monitor the Twitch stream.
I hear you.
And the guy that runs Alpha Geek Radio is nice enough to provide all of us that have shows on Alpha Geek Radio with a really cool chat room. So,
I was trying to use the other laptop that's sitting next to me, but it currently has Windows 10, and the audio drivers don't want to work. So.
I had an issue with that with my laptop yesterday.
That's what this is a laptop. It's an HP laptop, and it's having issues with the sound drivers.
And I ended up having to go through, kill all of the audio drivers, re-download them, reinstall them, and three reboots later, it finally worked.
It doesn't have. It's not an HP, is it?
No, it's a Dell Latitude. But
all right, it's officially in the Tadpool. People can come by if they want. Let's see what Sean's status is here.
So let's see. You said Inked Geek
Studios.com/live. All right. That's good to go. It's going to be an overlayless show, so I don't care.
Hey, guys.
Hey, you there?
Yeah, I'm actually on my tablet. I'm rebooting my computer, so I'm not going to stay on this because if I plug my headphones in, the microphone stops working on my tablet. So I just wanted to let you guys know what's going on. I'm going to jump off the call, and as soon as I get my laptop back up, rebooted, I'll let you know, and you can add me there.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and officially start the show, and then you can just jump in whenever you're ready.
Good.
All right, we'll check you in a bit then.
All right, thanks.
Cool. All right, official starting in 3, 2, 1. The Geek Access Podcast is brought to you by Inked Geek Studios. Be sure to go to inkedgeekstudios.com for this and other great shows.
Hi, this is Scott Johnson from the Frog Pants Network, and you're listening to the Geek Access Podcast. Oh, yeah.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a special bonus episode of the Geek Access Podcast. You'll notice that Corey and Brandon are not here. I am joined by quite a few special guests. I will start off with the upcoming newest host on the Inked Geek Studios network. I can talk tonight. Welcome, Charles Holbert. He's going to be the host of Lightsabers and Screwdrivers, coming in early 2016. Welcome, Charles.
Thanks. Can't wait.
Oh, it's an exciting night. My second guest is going to be Mr. J.F. Dubow. You would recognize him from last week's episode of Mind of a Geek. You might be familiar with some of his upcoming science fiction work. And also, he is one half of the Overwatch podcast, Overcast. J.F., welcome.
Thanks, Nate. How you doing?
Oh, peachy.
Sweet.
And the third of soon-to-be fourth guests, he is known in the Tadpool as Dice Tomato. He is one of the hosts on Tuesday night's Trivia Geeks, and he is a self-proclaimed Star Wars nerd. Mr. Dice Tomato, a.k.a. Mike. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Good tonight. Having the time of my life tonight.
Awesome. Well, I want to give a big thanks to you guys for being here. Geek Access listeners know that we've taken the holidays off so everyone can kind of do their own things and not panic about recording a show. So thanks, and we're here to discuss episode 7 of Star Wars, which released Thursday night in the U.S., aside from the big premiere on, what was it, Tuesday or Wednesday?
Tuesday, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so I will say to anybody listening, whether you're on the live stream or you're listening to this on the RSS feed, if you have not seen episode 7 and you give two shits about spoilers, do not listen to this episode. And that's it. From this point forward, that's the only spoiler warning you're getting. So you're going to get spoiled. So enjoy. I want to point out one thing I'm really excited about first, and then you guys can just have at it. I did read slightly before this recording that it's been announced that they broke $510 million worldwide, and they broke $230 million domestically. Opening weekend. And that's just estimated, which means it could very well be higher.
That's awesome, although it... in a way, it kind of means nothing because it's not like I was doubting there was going to be another one. It's like I wasn't afraid that they wouldn't have the money for the next one.
Right. Well, there were a lot of experts. I mean, I think everyone felt that it was going to break all the records, but there were some experts that felt that it wasn't going to break this year's opening weekend record of 204 million set by Jurassic World, simply because it's being released around Christmas, so people are busy. People may not have extra money. And there's a lot of people who are saying, look, I'm going to avoid the crowds, and I'll see it after the holidays.
I don't know. I mean, it's not Avengers money.
It broke Avengers money.
Well, one of those excuses to say, like, oh, yeah, we may not have enough money to go see Star Wars The Force Awakens, despite having bought a bunch of Star Wars The Force Awakens garbage to give each other for the holidays, it wouldn't make sense. Like, oh, here's a droid. I don't know what this role is in the movie because I ran out of money, but here's a droid. It's dumb. That's not a good reason at this point in time.
Fair enough. I'll take that. So we'll go in reverse order. Mike, what'd you think?
I liked it. I enjoyed it. I have some questions and issues, but overall, I thought it was a good, fun movie.
Very cool. JF, your brief. We'll get into your discussion later.
Oh no, dude.
I've got questions and details.
Your
so
brief, like your Twitter post on how you felt about it.
My 140 character review. It's good. It's fun, and it's going to get destroyed the more people think about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna get reamed as people analyze it. It's not gonna survive scrutiny.
I would have to agree. Charles, what about you?
I laughed. I cried. I thought it was wonderful, and I thought it was the Star Wars movie that we deserved after the prequels failed us.
Fair enough. I like the prequels. Being a prequels guy, actually did a pretty good job at allowing me to beat Mike on Trivia Geeks last week. But no, I like the prequels. I like all 6 movies. I thought it was great. Kylo Ren is my new favorite villain. I loved everything he did. I think Adam Driver's, just his appearance, I think fit very well. And the one thing I will say when it comes to the prequels, being a prequels fan, I was always a Hayden Christensen supporter. Everyone was like, oh, he was a little whiny bitch. He was annoying. He was this. He was that. And I was always like, no. He did it well, and he's a good actor. And any bad acting, I blame George Lucas. Because if you don't have a good director, it's hard to act well through it. However, after seeing Adam Driver portraying Kylo Ren in what was essentially a similar situation, he was battling within himself, light to dark. It made Hayden Christensen's work look amateur. Like, it made me realize how good that Anakin character could have been with a better actor and a better director.
Better story could have helped too.
That's true. That's true.
Now, I will say the only thing that come out of the prequels that I absolutely positively loved was all 5 seasons of the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
The Clone Wars is amazing. I'm watching Rebels right now, and it's absolutely superb. These series do more for the Star Wars universe than movies have done in a while. And I will even say that, in a way, so far Rebels is doing more for me than Episode 7 has.
I do like Rebels more too. Yeah.
Wow. Now, I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't either. I haven't even watched it.
It's really good.
That's what I hear.
It's worth the time to find and watch it.
That's what I hear.
I can send you guys a link. I found a place. No, I thought it's bizarre because, in a way, where the prequels was amazing as far as the directing of battles and everything that didn't involve actors was well done, and the actors was really amateurish in the prequels. To me, Episode 7 kind of flips it around. A lot of the actors were super well directed. They did a really great job. The characters were amazing. Even it's funny, but to a certain degree, one of the characters that I thought was the least interesting to watch turned out to be Han Solo, and not because he wasn't interesting to watch, but because so many of the other characters shined so bright compared to him. However, a lot of how the rest of the story was plotted, there were some pacing issues that, while you're watching it, is fine, but when you walk out and you start thinking about it, you're wondering, well, what was that? What happened there? Why did this happen this way? And it's the more I think about it, the more it bothers me. That's why I want to see it a second time, because I want to be re-immersed into it in a place where I don't think about it too much and can just enjoy it.
Fair enough.
I was kind of okay with the minimal screen time of Han Solo. You know, when he was there, he stole all the shots when he was there anyway, except for a couple. But I mean, clearly, you know, it's not his generation movie, or at least it's for, you know, the new kids coming in. He's there to kind of help drive some plot points along, and that's fine. That's really all he needed to be, and that's what he was. I mean,
I would have even given him a bit less. There's the entire scene with the monsters and the ship is
that was kind of
useless.
Action for action's
See,
sake.
I find it funny, especially, Mike, that you phrased it that way, because I have a huge Star Wars geek friend at work, and one of the things we discussed about this being Han Solo's last movie, spoiler, he's dead, is that we thought it was a great send-off because he got so much screen time. And we were happy that he got the screen time he did. And I felt that every minute he was on screen, he nailed it. Everything from the, I've got a bad feeling about this, to just the emotion that dropped out of his face when he saw Leia and said, I saw our son. Like, I thought he nailed every minute of it.
I thought...
And the problem...
Go ahead.
One problem that could have happened is that they could have given him too much screen time. At the same time, they could have given him not enough.
Right.
I mean, but at least for me, it was just as much as was needed to not take away from everything else in
let me pause you for
story.
1 second. Sean, are you there?
I am here.
Awesome. All right. Let me introduce everybody. Sean, he is the other third, one of the other thirds of Trivia Geeks that you can catch on Tuesday night. He hosts with Mr. Mike here. So welcome him to the show. Sean, you weren't here. I asked the other three in, I guess, kind of a Twitter post just summarizing. What were your overall thoughts of the movie?
I loved it. I thought it was Star Wars through and through. I had one problem that I'm sure we'll get to eventually, but I think I'm going to be in the minority for that. But other than that, I would say it was a 9 or a 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Back to what you were saying, if you remember. I just didn't want Sean to sit there in silence wondering when he could talk.
Who was talking?
I think Mike was.
Mike was talking, right?
I have kind of lost my train. I mean, I know we were talking about Han Solo. But that's what I lost my train of thought on where that was going to be.
We're talking about his amount of screen time.
Screen time, yeah.
Right.
I mean, I don't really have any much more else to say on it. I mean, I thought it was what he had was perfectly reasonable, and I mean, anytime he was on the screen, he nailed his scenes, and did everything that he was supposed to do to further the plot, and pretty much give the rest to everyone else. So.
Yeah, I thought he did great.
His chemistry with the other characters, especially with the new characters, he was very key in propping up the new characters and helping them find their place, especially Rey. There's a lot of these sideways glances, some of these thoughtful moments where you just see Han's reaction to something that Rey says or does that is pregnant with meaning and leaves a lot of open questions, which is a lot of fun, and a good job on Harrison Ford for really communicating those scenes very well. That was cool.
It's a very just you wait kid kind of look.
Yeah, I guess. But I still feel that scene with the monsters in the ship was too much, because I feel that the time of that scene could have been better distributed. Because here's the thing, if you want to bear with me for like a minute, I've discovered a very bad weakness of J.J. Abrams' directing style. And this goes throughout his work with Star Trek, and you see it also in this film, and tell me if you agree with me or not, but I feel that J.J. Abrams is incapable of managing distances and time in space travel. You see it in Star Trek in the sense that doesn't like all the coincidences that people complain about in his Star Trek reboot, the fact that he needs to have this transwarp thing to move characters really fast. Whenever he's stuck.
That was only in shit. What was it called? Return to Darkness.
Into Darkness.
Yes, that was only in Into Darkness where he had all the weird travel issues. Like
everything
in the first movie, as far as travel, was pretty spot on.
Speaking of that, you know what I was wondering, and I may not remember it from the original trilogy, but were X-wings able to go into warp drive?
Yeah, that's how Hoth to Dagobah.
Mm-hmm. What's that?
When Luke goes from Hoth to Dagobah, he does it in an X-wing.
Does he? Oh, okay, because all I could remember was from the prequels when Obi-Wan went to the clone planet. His smaller ship had to be in that bigger ship that allowed him to warp drive.
Yeah, I guess they upgraded everything in on those smaller ships between those 30 or 20 years or so.
Right.
Hopefully, right?
Yeah.
You would think.
But here's the thing, like I have to disagree about, and I hate talking about Star Trek for that, but it's because there's a very clear parallel to be made. Like in Star Trek, you have scenes where coincidentally Kirk ends up on a planet where coincidentally Spock is, and when Vulcan gets destroyed, which they can see it in the sky, and you have the exact same situation, which, by the way, what I just described makes no bloody sense in any scenario. And you have the same situation in episode 7 where they're destroying a Republic thing that they don't describe sufficiently and don't establish in any convincing way, which is why I think they needed more time.
Right.
And they're on another planet and they go, oh, look up in the sky somewhere.
They're in
the
a completely
different. Exactly.
I couldn't tell if they were supposed to be in a completely different star system or if they were in the same system. And if they were in a different star system, were they sucking out that star? What was going on there? Yeah,
Exactly. So
I did have an issue with that too.
Less CGI tentacle monsters, more better establishing of the actual set and plot.
Right.
That's just good directing.
No, I get you on that.
I feel that JJ has trouble nailing that. So that makes me hopeful for the movies he won't direct.
How much writing though did he actually do in consideration to this though? Well, because I mean, I think that's more of a writing mistake than anything.
It's a combination of writing, directing, and editing. Like those three branches are supposed to be working together to get the pacing of the movie correct. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, like, if something is written with bad pacing, it's the director's job to sort of film enough scenes that the editor can actually fix it in the when he cuts the movie. Okay. So, anyways, that's kind of my main complaint and why I feel that it's not as strong as, say, like episode 5, or even episode 4. To me, it ranks about on par with episode 3. And I know it's going to get me in trouble, but so far that's where it is. But there's a lot of cool things in that movie. Oh my god,
there were. It was beautiful. It wasn't overly CGI'd. The marriage of practical and CGI effects was spot on. It was done so well, and I love BB-8. BB-8 is one of my new favorite Star Wars characters.
I'm floored at how they nailed the exact, like, if you're talking about a character that got just enough screen time but not a second too much, it's BB-8. Whenever he's on screen, it's to establish something, so he's useful. And whenever he's not needed, they don't just show him off a la Jar Jar Binks. So he's not just there to please the kids. He's there to move plot around.
I do think they identified BB as a female. So it's the first female droid in main story.
I think they confirmed it as a male.
Did
and
they?
You know what? Whether they're confirming a robot as male or female is so irrelevant.
Beside the point.
Yeah, we can call it it. It doesn't matter.
Fair
it's
enough.
a robot.
But
unless it's got like a robo penis or a robo vagina, who fucking cares?
Robo vagina.
And remember, I write about robots.
That's the new movie coming out of
who have sexual identities in one of my in the book I'm publishing. That's an issue, but I don't think in Star Wars it should be.
I will say that, and again, back a little bit of a backstory for my Star Wars liking. I always preferred Jar Jar over C-3PO. I always felt C-3PO was kind of like the nagging housewife, and he bugged me. And Jar Jar, I was young enough at the time. Like, I was in my freshman year when episode 1 came out. So I was young enough to where I could appreciate it. That being said, I agree with you completely where BB-8 wasn't overused, unlike Jar Jar. Like, Jar Jar just felt squeezed in so many spots. Welcome back, Charles. Jar Jar felt squeezed in so often where, like, when BB-8 was on screen, he was being used. Like, that scene when he thought Poe was dead, like, that one scene, that droid conveyed more emotion in a better way than Jar Jar did in 2 movies. Like,
I agree. And just
it.
the thumbs up that he does with Finn is amazing. That won me over immediately.
The whole theater erupted in laughter during that scene.
Oh, it was beautiful. It's a well done character, and even when you see him in short flashes, when the Falcon is like moving around, they use him to establish that it's a chaotic scene, and they show him for brief, like half a second, sort of stabilizing himself with wires or whatever. But it's not overused. It's not slapsticky. It's just there to show chaotic movement.
Right. Hey, Peter.
I saw a comic today on Facebook that had BB-8 down at one end of a bar surrounded by people, and Jar Jar and the Ewok were sitting at the bar just giving him these completely dirty looks. And I think that encapsulates exactly what I felt about BB-8 is they finally got that character archetype right. That's what they wanted out of the Ewoks and what they wanted out of Jar Jar, but could never actually get, and they've succeeded this time with BB-8.
Oh yeah.
I think we're the wrong age group to make that call, because those two characters are not necessarily aimed at us, and I wonder if like a 8 or 12-year-old watching Force Awakens would bitch and moan about there not being enough BB-8.
I can see
And
that.
honestly, deep down, I also don't care that theoretical child I just invented would be unhappy with the movie. Really, I don't give a damn. But I'm just saying, like, I'm happy with the results right now because I'm the age group I am. I don't know how other kids would react.
Yeah.
I would
Well,
honestly be hard pressed more to say that we didn't get enough of R2D2,
No, I'm fine with that.
because I'm pretty sure there were quite a few that may have thought that.
I think we'll get more of him in the same essence that we're going to get more of Luke in Episode 8.
I agree.
Yeah.
We got as much of R2 that we needed.
Right.
He was there. He moved. He beep booped.
And that scene when I loved it when BB rolled into him like, wake up, and then he didn't do anything and just like, oh. And I thought it was cool how, because one of the discussion points that I've seen discussed a lot this weekend as far as this movie is it's Episode 4 in HD. And there are some aspects of the movie I can understand about that. I mean, you know, kid, no parents, desert planet, they blow up a bigger Death Star. Like, I get it. But I like how they kind of merged the two generations together when they had R2 come out and put the map up, and then BB-8 came out and put the rest of the map up. Like, that was their way of saying, look, the original trilogy and this new upcoming trilogy, they can work harmoniously together, and they will do it, and they will do it well.
Now, I do also have kind of an issue with the map thing, but I think I may have answered my own.
Is it a technical issue where you think they should have figured this out without all these map fragments?
Kind of.
Yeah.
I can possibly overlook that as just way things may have been written.
Yeah, you know what? I think I see where you're going, because anybody that understands how data analysis works can see how they could have figured out what's missing in the map. But who cares? It's just a plot device.
Well,
Ignore it.
I don't recall them saying that. Did they have the piece that R2 had? Did they know that part?
No,
They didn't.
it was brought up that they didn't even know. Like, C-3PO had mentioned that, you know, why would R2 have that in his memory databank? Like, what would make you think that he had it in his memory databank reserves or something like that to BB-8? And then BB-8 was so confident in the fact that R2 knew it.
Then that's the answer to the question. They didn't have a point of reference. That was the problem. They had the key. They just didn't have the door.
Right.
And R2 had, you know, the door and the lock. They didn't know where to start from. They knew where to go, but not how to get there.
What I thought was great, and it was wonderful trolling done by Disney. And it's funny because actually, JF, you and I brought it up on Mind of a Geek last week, as well as everyone on the internet did too. It's like, where's Luke? Like, in the trailers. Like, where's Luke? Why aren't we seeing Luke? Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Are they going to be teasing us with him? Is he going to be on the edge, and we'll find out? And we found out why we didn't see Luke in the trailers, because he wasn't in the goddamn movie. Like, he had two scenes, and one of those scenes we saw in the trailer.
I'm gonna push a bit further. Like, at the end, that whole scene where Rey goes to find Luke, useless. It dragged too long. With the Falcon going into hyperspace, cut, credit, done. We don't need to see anymore.
No. The way I look at it is,
Thank you, JF. Thank you.
I think
you thought you were alone.
I think that scene was well deserved.
The way I look at it is the end of the movie, the quote unquote end of the movie, is exactly what JF described. Basically, what we got, that whole scene where the Millennium Falcon makes that amazing like crescent turn over the water and makes those beautiful waves, like all that was the after credit stinger that we didn't have to wait until after the credits for.
Right. I mean that's
just precisely what that was.
Here's a piece of art. Enjoy.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Time out. I just want one thing I want to say. I've seen a lot of Disney Marvel type movies recently. How good does it feel that when the movie's done, you can finally get off your ass and leave? You don't have to wait for shit.
But you still
Amen.
didn't. You still didn't, because it was Star Wars and the music was wonderful.
Yeah. Actually, I have a problem with that.
Well, let me just say something real quick, Michael, before you go into the music, because that was the one spot that I really had an issue with it that kind of caused this movie not to be a 10 for me, was because I felt that ending was really wedged in. And I know that they would have faced a shitstorm if they had not put Luke Skywalker in the movie at all, but I would have been happier if that had ended right there, because the whole movie is where's Luke, where's Luke, where's Luke, and then all of a sudden they figure it out from the map. So it's let's jump in the Millennium Falcon, climb up a hill, and oh, there he is. It just lacked epicness of trying to get to him.
I'll give you a parallel. You know how Empire Strikes Back ends with Lando and Chewie. They're in the Falcon. The Falcon leaves like, oh, they're going to go find Han. And it's as if at the end of that, afterwards, they would have shown Chewie and Lando finding where Han is. Like, oh, he's on Tatooine in Jabba's palace, and have an entire scene explaining that. It's not necessary. And I understand, like, yeah, you're absolutely right, Mike, that people would have fucking rioted in the streets if we hadn't seen Mark Hamill. But at the same time,
especially after hearing that he was involved.
But
Yeah.
Well, he was involved. He touched R2D2 in a flashback scene, and that was it.
But
sufficiently involved.
I feel the end would have had more power without that. Now, here's a question. Let's start theorizing a bit. Whose headstone is that?
Headstone.
That Luke is next to. There's a rock sticking out in an odd way, almost like a headstone or a cairn or something. Did I just imagine something, or
I don't recall.
I
seeing a
didn't
headstone.
notice it, but if I were to venture a guess, I would say either Obi-Wan's or Anakin's.
interesting?
No,
Kinda-
Anakin was.
he burned
oh,
out.
yeah,
with
he
Ewoks.
was- he was cremated,
was
that's
funeral
right.
pyred.
That's right.
Obi-Wan
Disappeared.
Force left.
Yeah. Oh
Now,
no!
are we
No! All right.
I know what you're gonna
Pure
say,
conjecture here. It's okay. I'm going to use her EU name because I don't know what else they'd call her. Obviously, they're changing the names because they called Jason Ben, but it's Mara Jade. It's Rey's mother.
Assuming
Yeah,
Rey
that's
is
what I
Luke's
was just
daughter.
thinking.
Shut
I
up.
don't- I
Rey
don't
is
think-
Luke's daughter.
No, she's not.
This is starting to be
let
fun.
me-
She's either
let me-
Luke's.
let me
She
explain why she
she
is
needs
not
to
Luke's
either be
daughter.
Luke's daughter or she needs to be Kylo's sister. But if she was
Yes.
Kylo's sister, wouldn't one of the parents have fucking said something? Or you think
Yeah.
maybe,
No,
just
not
maybe, she's 10
necessarily.
years younger than Ben. Maybe, just maybe, when he turns to the dark side, they'd go, look, maybe we shouldn't have another fucking kid.
Okay.
She's 10 years younger.
Because Kylo Ren was born 2 to 3 years after Episode 6, and on the Wikipedia biography for Rey, it says she was born 15 years. I'm sorry, 15 years after Episode 6, which puts her at about 10 to 12 roughly years younger than Kylo. And we
Is that
estimate.
canon? Like, is Wikipedia canon?
Well, that was
really?
based off of what they pulled from the movie and character descriptions.
I don't know if that was any of that was accurate. I don't know. I didn't. I mean, I got
And
that they were
also, you
closer-
base off the
that
age.
they were closer in age.
Assuming that they're going to go, I mean, again, assuming they casted somewhere roughly within the character's age. Adam Driver's 31, and Daisy Ridley's 22. So, so there's even like a 10 year difference there. So,
I mean, because I got the inkling. And this is another thing that kind of is like shadows of episodes 4, 5, and 6. Is that it makes complete sense that Kylo and Rey are twins.
They don't need to be twins, but they can be much closer than 10 years apart also.
Or even that. I mean,
but why
they're-
wouldn't they
they're-
have
they're
mentioned
at
the
least
daughter?
more related as brother and sister than as cousin A and cousin B.
Yeah, see, and I agree with Nate though on this one that I think at least Leia would have recognized her and said something.
Leia
Han
didn't
maybe
recognize
not, 'cause
her
we
own
don't
brother.
Well, see,
Know. Well,
I can
they were
explain
separated
this.
as babies. She
There
didn't give
there
birth
is
to
a
Luke.
lot. There's a
I
lot
can-
of history to these people not recognizing their siblings.
Fair
Okay?
enough.
There's a perfectly reasonable explanation for this. Is that somehow, because of the magical powers of the Force, there's a group of people that all have some amnesia for make up a reason. We don't know it yet, but I'm thinking that Kylo Ren knows more about everything going on than the rest of the characters. What's her name? The Kanata, the little
Maskanata, or
yeah.
yeah.
She knows more going on that she hasn't said or won't say if she's dead.
See, I don't think she's dead.
Yeah, she was. Did anybody else think no capes when she came on screen? She
What?
just reminded me of the woman
I
from
see.
As soon as I saw her, all I thought was no capes, and I even turned to my daughter and said that to her.
Okay, so Peter in the chat room brings up, what about Kylo continually hitting his left side? He suggests
I didn't
maybe
get that
Parasite or Alien can, like, for me,
Oh,
I
he
think
got blasted.
right,
Yeah, he
but
got
well,
hit by
no, but
Chewie
he
there.
was beating himself during that
Well,
fight
he
with
also
Rey.
he also got hit by Finn too.
Right. I mean, is that just
Yeah.
a way of causing pain to invoke anger to make his power in the dark side stronger?
I mean, it's been
See,
proven that physical
those are
damage to your body.
Those are the things that have bothered me about his character so far. He's and I don't think that killing Han is going to be his like complete fall into the dark side, because it wasn't anything he didn't want to do.
Right.
Well, but here's what's fun about
he's like a
Kylo
dark
Ren.
side poser.
No, he's.
Well, no.
The thing is, you know how you have your typical Jedi falling to the dark side. He's the opposite. He's trying not to fall to the light side.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. All right.
It's very interesting.
I have an overarching theory, and I
Neat
kind of
take on that.
I kind of want to get this out a little bit early. And JF, this is the theory I mentioned to you that I had. But I was
wait.
waiting.
I
All right,
just want
okay, go
to
ahead.
clarify one thing before we move on, because we're moving away from a subject that I had something to add to about
okay.
the whole
Go ahead.
Kylo and Rey being brother and sister. They do hint at Kylo knowing more when he's trying to get the map out of her head, and he says, "Don't be afraid, I sense it too," and then moves on. So he obviously picked up on something that's not explained yet.
Right.
I mean,
And
clearly they know each other.
I would
Well,
say.
I'm sorry, he knows
I don't know
her.
about each other, but yeah, he knows
he
her.
knows her.
Go ahead, Charles.
Because
Well,
I
hold
mean,
on.
you got to think about this fact that
We're
he has
all
been
talking over each other.
well,
No,
sorry.
it's okay. That's what makes this fun.
I just need one thing explained. When I can't remember the admiral's name, the ginger guy.
He wasn't an General Hux.
Okay, yeah.
Who
He
was
had made the
badass.
off comment to Kylo that you'll never be as good as your grandfather. Anakin is
Is his-
Kylo's grandfather?
Yes, because it's Leia's son, and Leia
Yeah.
is Anakin's
Yeah.
daughter.
Okay, so at the same time, that makes me more in the believable fact that Kylo's Force user, Rey's a Force user. That makes me think that it's more along the lines that Rey is Luke's daughter.
I would say it's a given that Rey is related. We just don't know how.
Yeah, she's definitely a Skywalker. Somewhere.
Yeah, because the lightsaber talked to her. I think that's what it told us, and we are just left to conjecture on where. And so it's just that. All right, really, and I'll explain this really quick because this is a short theory. It just has a lot of stuff in it. Okay, I am 99% sure that Supreme Commander Snoke, whatever his name was, yeah,
Snooky.
I am 99% sure that is Darth. I am 99% sure that is Darth Plagueis. Darth Plagueis, as in case people don't know, was Palpatine's master. He was described in Episode 3. He was supposedly killed in Episode 1, or during the events of Episode 1, not in the movie, but during those events. So here's my theory. So you have Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, obviously father to Luke, Leia. So grandfather to, I would say it's a given that he's a grandfather to both Ben and Rey. Again, regardless of whose Rey's kid is. My theory is that, as we know from the description in Episode 1, Anakin didn't have a father. As we know from Episode 3, Darth Plagueis was capable of creating life out of nothing simply by manipulating the Force. I truly feel that Plagueis is Anakin's father, and Kylo/Ben is Snoke/Plagueis' great-grandson, and this was Plagueis' dark plan all along.
For what
That
purpose?
is a that
Just to
is-
fuck with the galaxy. No, I don't know for what purpose.
The
Um,
ultimate force troll.
Yeah.
I like your, I like your reasoning behind it, but what's his end? What's the end here?
to take down the Jedi, which so far he's done. How many are left? Half a dozen, if that. What do we got? Luke and Rey, because
I mean, Luke for sure,
right?
yeah.
Because the small group that Luke was trying to build up, were taken out through the hands of Snoke, or through the command of Snoke at the hands of Kylo.
But what does Snoke have to gain?
To
removing
eliminate
all of
the Jedi to be, Palpatine. Plagueis is described as being the most powerful Sith in the galaxy. He has the power to resurrect. He has the power to create life. So he would be the supreme ruler of the entire galaxy with nobody having the power to stop him if the Jedi were eliminated.
but that would mean
So if that's the case, then how did Palpatine stop him?
I don't believe Palpatine did, because since Plagueis was so powerful in the Force, he had the option to do one of two things. One, he was never dead. Palpatine never came close to killing him, and he simply used Force persuasion to control a lesser mind, to use him as a puppet to do his bidding, or he simply deceived him, because as we know, Sith, the most powerful of Sith, are capable of transferring their consciousness from one body to another. That's how a lot of the most powerful ones remained immortal.
Isn't that an EU thing though?
I don't believe it was.
It is an EU.
Was
thing,
it an
because
EU thing?
It's never mentioned anywhere in the actual movies.
I thought it
and
was
I
in
don't
the
think I've
comic
seen
books, though.
which comic books though, because
The-
a lot
the
of
recent-
comic
the
books
recent
are
ones.
EU.
The recent ones, not the legacy ones.
Oh, okay,
Hold
I
on.
haven't seen
And-
the recent ones.
I
Now,
mean,
the only thing-
I mean, it's a believable theory, but
Well, there's
I'm
something.
not really sure if that's where Disney is wanting to go with that.
There's something I could add to a theory to add to that theory is that when you see Snoke in Force Awakens, you'll notice two things. First of all, obviously he's a hologram, so he's not necessarily there. So his scale could very well be a lie, and this probably is a lie. Another thing that you notice, he's got a really nasty face wound.
Yeah.
My theory is that he's on life support. I don't think he's physically active.
He could also already be dead, and he's projecting himself as a Force ghost.
Not impossible.
Because I mean that was a hologram. They clearly showed that.
Yeah, that's true.
So falsifying his size, I mean that's nothing when it comes to a hologram.
Right.
But the only question I have to add to the fact that to this argument is the rule of two.
Yeah. That was the
That's-
thing that I was
that-
wondering about.
Yeah, that kind of blows that argument out of the water. Is the
Is-
rule of two?
Is
I mean,
Kylo
the only
Ren
reason the rules-
considered a Sith?
I don't believe so.
I don't think so either.
And the only
Okay.
reason the rule of two came around was because of because of Sith trying to kill each other.
Right. Yeah, it was a way to prevent them.
I
yeah.
mean, it
too
doesn't
much
necessarily
infighting.
mean that the
Right.
Sith were always, bound or binding themselves by the rule of two.
Because that's essentially a Sith thing, is that the true Sith is the master, the apprentice is the apprentice, and the way the apprentice becomes a master is to kill their master.
Right.
Mhm.
Like you don't train him and go, okay, good luck. He murders you, and that's
Yeah.
how you
And
know
if
his
the-
training's done.
And if Darth Plagueis hid the fact that he was still around, then the rule of two probably, they would have at least thought anyway that it was standing.
Right.
If he hid the fact that he was still there.
Also, who else thinks Leia is force sensitive, but not in the sense of like a Jedi?
Well, we know she is, don't we?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
is.
Wasn't
She
that was-
is, but she's never trained.
Yeah, that was a quote from Luke.
yeah, but it's never been
now-
like.
Now, you say that she is, but she's never trained. Okay.
Well, that we know of.
Right.
And this is what kind of gets me about Rey right now.
Oh, I know where you're going.
Was she trained in anything?
Well, that was one of the biggest complaints about this movie that I'm seeing, is that people are like, oh, well, that it was a Star Wars movie. We had almost no lightsaber battles, and the one that we did was very amateur. And it was
mean,
like,
We got
that was-
way more lightsaber battles in this movie than we got in Episode 4 and Episode 5.
we got
yeah.
one.
Calm down.
We
yeah,
got
it was
one.
fine. The lightsaber battles were fine, and the problem I had was that if Kylo Ren was supposed to be trained, especially by Luke, for some indeterminate period of time. And we're assuming that he may have had some time to even maybe train by himself after all things went down.
Right.
In what world, what universe is this where him as a trained lightsaber wielder is not just mopping the floor with Rey? How is she that lucky if she has not been trained by herself?
Yes,
before?
JF, I see your hand raised back there.
As Obi-Wan once said, use the Force.
And even Kylo told her to use it.
Okay, well, she's not trained with a lightsaber, but she's obviously good at
Finn.
using weapons.
Okay, that's where I was going to counter that. Was I don't have a problem with Rey. I have a problem with Finn. We have this stormtrooper who's been nothing but a stormtrooper. He was bred to be a stormtrooper. He went out into battle with Han Solo holding a fucking lightsaber going, I need a weapon. It's like, are you stupid?
But here's the thing, like there's this, I listened to another podcast that was doing like spoilers, and they were saying, oh, Disney totally pulled the wool over our eyes. We thought the Jedi would be Finn. It turns out to be Rey. And my thought is, it's both.
I don't think Finn is force sensitive though. I mean, he's a stormtrooper. He's competent in some degree of weaponry.
But we also don't know what family he was pulled from.
True.
Even if he's not. But here's the thing. Here's the difference, right? Nowhere when a Skywalker says, hey, I've got the Force, no one goes, holy shit, it's an awakening. However, for some reason, before Rey is shown to have the Force, even before Rey is introduced, we see that Kylo Ren seems to notice Finn for no particular reason, and he seems to stand out. And before
he was the only stormtrooper that wasn't doing
And
anything.
he was also the only stormtrooper with a big bloody handprint on his head.
I mean,
but here's the thing.
He was standing there pretty loudly.
However, before Rey does anything that's Force related, like the only thing she does is pilot a ship, and then Kylo Ren's talking to Snoke and saying, hey, there's been an awakening. Do you feel it? Yeah, I felt it. Yeah, awesome. Fist bump. I don't think they're talking about Rey at that point.
No, that's a cool
I
theory,
agree.
and it could be. I think it would be too convenient for them to be talking about Rey at that point.
Mm-hmm. And also, like, Maz Kanata seems to have noticed something out of him. I mean, she's the one who said, when he says, I need a weapon, she's the one who says, you got one. You got a lightsaber, dude. Maybe there's something to that.
You got one of the greatest weapons in the galaxy.
Right.
Yeah, she doesn't say, hey, grab a blaster and take the lightsaber to Rey because not you. Like, she says, no, it's you. You have take the lightsaber because shit's going on.
I mean,
So
Finn and
Go ahead.
Rey's competencies or lack thereof to a lightsaber aside, it doesn't make up for Kylo's apparent lack of competency.
So really quick, just while we were talking about Finn, so do we assume Finn's not dead?
Oh, he's not dead.
We know he's not dead.
He's not dead.
And that is one of my complaints, by the way.
See,
Not
I
that
thought he
he's
was
not
dead.
But whenever you have a medical situation in what I will consider the best Star Wars, it's always met with really cool sci-fi thing. Like, Luke loses a hand, like 2 minutes later, he's plugged into a gimmick, and then later he has a robot hand. He gets frostbite, they stick him in a bacta tank. Everything looks awesome when you get medical treatment in Star Wars, except Finn. He's lying on his back somewhere and just looking.
Well, he
Like
was in
Rando
a
Stormtrooper.
They just wrapped
facility.
his arm.
Yeah, but that's a minor wound. I'm talking like big stuff, big end of movie stuff.
Well, he got a
Where-
light.
I mean,
he got a
for all we know,
lightsaber up the
Finn's
back.
wound could have been minor. I mean, yeah, he got his back sliced a little bit by that lightsaber, but we don't know to the degree of
Right.
what happened.
I still think that would have deserved a better set piece. Like, put him in a bacta tank. Have Rey put her hand on the glass saying, like, we'll see each other again, and he's blowing bubbles. I don't know, something cool.
I mean, I'll be honest. I was expecting a bacta tank too.
But
they
maybe
ran out of money?
maybe they wanted something. Maybe they wanted something where whether he was dead or alive would be left to interpretation for Episode 8. Because I question.
People know better.
Yeah, we'll see each other again. If he's dead, that's really dark, Ray.
Yeah,
You
I
went
mean,
to a dark place.
You can't have a main top bill actor be a throwaway character.
Agreed.
Agreed, which brings me to my next frustration.
Phasma.
Holy shit! I wanted more Poe Dameron. He was
Oh.
awesome.
Okay, yeah, him too.
God, he was the best character. The way he interacts with Finn is so convincing.
Now, so the reason why you couldn't have so much Poe is because you've already got Han, and you got to get rid of Han first.
I'm so glad they killed Han, Ben, because Poe's so cooler.
Because I don't think the movie would have worked well with Han and Poe sharing screen time.
And do you
Yeah.
think
They're
Poe,
the same character? They're gonna be.
No, they're not. Poe.
Do you think Poe might
the
have been that
core.
situation though, where you want more of him because we didn't get much, but if we got too much, you might have been
You might be
Yeah.
right. With that.
Yeah, I think we got as much of Poe as we
Poe
needed
is
to
like
have
the
for
candy
now.
corn.
You will get more of him.
We
Poe-
got just the quantity that makes me excited to want more.
Right.
Yes, exactly. That's
Right,
where it needs to be.
I'll accept that.
The only
Sorry,
way
sorry.
he could be more excited about Poe
Hold
is if
on,
he was
hold
wearing a
on.
goddamn Overwatch jacket.
Hold on. Okay. Poe is more badass. Like he's just more. I can do this. I can do anything that I say I can do.
Well-
Han is more suave. He's more ladies' man. He's he's not as rough around the edges. Poe is just like, you see that? I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna fly that. I'm gonna shoot this. I'm a badass. Get out of my way.
Right.
Poe got all the best parts.
No, you're
of
wrong,
Luke
Charles.
and Han all in one little package.
But Charles wrong. You're wrong, Charles. He's not get out of my way. He's like, oh, I'm badass. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna fly that. I'm gonna destroy these things. Don't get out of my way. Come with me. Join me. Like he's super inclusive. That's why I like him so much. Like he's the most positive.
Yeah, I need a
best-
wingman.
I will say what I felt
Exactly.
was
Oh, keep the jacket, man. It looks better on you. Hey, fist bump. Like he's
Right.
he's the
That
ray
scene-
of sunshine that's missing from this.
one of the
story.
best. Go ahead.
In that scene, I was like, all right, now kiss. Because those guys were just like,
One of the best interactions in the movie, I felt, was between Finn and Poe, and
Oh,
it was when he rescued him from the base, and he goes, "Why are you helping me? Because it's the right thing to do. You need a pilot, don't you? Yeah, I need a
good
pilot." Like that will lead me to the comedy in this movie was perfect.
Because
There
it
wasn't
wasn't
too
too
much.
much.
There wasn't too little. Like it was spot on. It was funny. It had the whole theater, at least the one I was in, erupting in laughter. It was perfect.
Oh yeah.
And I loved every minute of
I
it.
think
And I mean,
I
the,
think
the
the
whole
level-
it's the right thing to do. It's really the only line that could have worked.
Right.
Mhm.
Sean was saying something.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I think the level of comedy was dead on. I think you're right. I think that the Finn's character, especially, when they were coming up with a plan, Han Solo said, "Are you ready to do this?" And he goes, "No, not really, but I'm going to go do it anyway." His character had a lot of that, and I thought also the level of fan service that they did was pretty spot on. There were a couple times when things would pop up that were from previous movies that you could recognize and say, "Hey, I know that." Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, other than characters, the Millennium Falcon, but smaller things like when they're in the Falcon and Finn picks up the white training ball that Luke used in the
Yeah,
A
I
New Hope.
noticed that. That was great.
oh yeah, I remember that.
Like, what is this?
He tosses it aside like
but
it's
they-
trash.
Exactly. They don't make a huge deal out of it. They don't push it in your face and spend 5 minutes talking about it.
Right.
You get to see it and go, "Hey, that's cool," and then we're on to something
They-
else. And it's the same thing when he sits down and turns the chessboard type game on, and Chewie starts getting excited, and you go, "Hey, I remember that," but then it moves on.
They mastered the art of subtlety in this movie, and I think
They
they
really
did it
did.
very well.
So who else wants to see more of Captain Phasma?
Yes, that was probably one of my biggest complaints, along with the
Yeah.
other ones.
Yeah.
I was downright freaking pissed about that. They could have at least had a scene at the end, like to show that she's still alive. Her picking up Kylo Ren and bringing him to a ship. Something. I mean, she does. I mean, she could have been replaced by a dude with a British accent in a Nazi outfit, and that would have been fine. Like just any Imperial officer could have replaced her.
She could have been replaced by Commander Cody, and then just have her in the background, not saying a word,
Well,
and she would have been fine.
What I find interesting is like Gwendolyn Christie was on record saying, "I'm so happy to be playing a prominent female character." When were you fucking prominent? I mean,
the
You're
character was
She-
super
she-
hyped and does nothing.
She's even on the center.
prominent.
She's
She
on
was
the
useful
center of the
to getting
poster.
to getting the shield array off.
Yeah, but you could have replaced her by a stormtrooper
okay.
with just like a shoulder pad or just an imperial officer.
she was-
I mean, the character itself does nothing that needs to be done by that character.
But by that
I
logic,
agree.
she was prominent in the same way that Jar Jar was prominent because he's the one that voted in Palpatine. Do you see what I mean? I will say she was responsible for one of the funnier comical lines of the movie. And does this ship have a trash compactor? So that was great.
Yeah.
That was good.
But my problem isn't that they didn't show her enough, and my problem is not that I didn't want to see more of that character. I did. That's the thing. Like the hype worked on me. I wanted more Captain Phasma. I wanted to know what her background was. Why does she have a different uniform? What makes her badass? I don't think we see her shoot. I wanted more of that character.
Hey, can I sidetrack us for a second?
Sure.
Sure.
Has anybody been watching Game of Thrones?
Yeah,
I don't watch it.
Absolutely.
Is her character still current,
Brienne?
or is
Yeah.
she dead?
No, she's good.
Yeah,
All right,
she's
her
still
actor has been very busy because I watched Hunger Games last night, and the new one, and she was in that too.
Gwendolyn
So-
Christie was?
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
actually one of the commanders in Hunger Games.
I have a feeling that she, again, same with Luke, I think she will be a prominent figure in episode 8.
See, I feel like the reason that we didn't actually get that much airtime with her on Star Wars is because of how much
Her acting
she
schedule.
has on her plate right now.
Like,
Between
It's
doing,
irrelevant.
she had like a 10-15 minute scene in Hunger Games, and then she's doing
She's got Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, and then she's trying to do Star Wars. That's a lot on her
I
plate.
will
Granted,
say-
Then they didn't need her to have any lines or have that whole scene with
well,
the shields.
I think the one thing that they did do, even though, again, she wasn't there a lot, but they did establish that her role was important. They did establish that she was like, the scene with Finn when she was like, who gave you permission to take that helmet off? And like, report to my office. And then she had a little bit of dialogue with General Hux about how she analyzed him after he didn't pull the trigger, or maybe it was with Kylo. But so they established that her role was important, which might have been what she meant by an important female role, because her role was important, as minimal as it was. But again, hopefully we'll see more of her in episode 8, because not only is she a great actress, but that character's badass looking.
well, it's already
Exactly.
been confirmed. It's already been confirmed that she'll be back for episode 8.
Oh, that's
so.
good.
And see, as far as her importance in the First Order, to be honest, I'm still kind of trying to figure out how the First Order, where did that start there?
Right. And where did it
'Cause
go?
I
Because
want to
wasn't that
know
their base?
some more history on the First Order.
Is the First Order done now? Like, now is it purely going to be the Knights of Ren? Because they
Exactly.
blew the First Order up.
Who knows? And why did the rebellion become the resistance and not an arm of the I mean, there's so much that we don't know. And I get the prequels talked too much about politics, but at a certain point, if you're going to tell a story in a setting, you need to establish that setting in a credible way. So
Right.
maybe they went too far the other way this time.
And
yeah.
I fear that they might not actually give us enough information on even a basic origin on the First
Yeah.
Order.
I'm willing to bet they do it in either comic books, or maybe there'll be a First Order standalone. But I definitely could have taken less of the Han dealing with smugglers while we fight overly CGI'd monsters. I could have taken that whole scene could have been scrapped, and they could have given us a little bit of backstory.
I mean, it was cute. It was Han.
Well,
Yeah, but
What he does.
Give me Carrie Fisher having a dialogue with a Republic senator about the situation, because we didn't get enough Carrie Fisher either. I'm
No.
sorry.
She seemed tired.
and she was she's a general. What was she a general over? Like, she didn't. All she did was let other people come up with the ideas and go, yeah, that sounds good. Go do that.
General of the Resistance, man.
Right.
She
She
just
was
sits back in
she
her
was
desk.
resisting her general duties, is what she was doing.
Well, let me ask you guys, what were the points in your viewing experience that got literal applause from the audience that you were watching it with? Because for me, it was only 2 points.
Han and Chewie.
Yep.
Yeah.
The opening.
Yeah.
Not for me.
R2.
Yep.
Nope.
No.
Well, R2 being there and then R2 turning on.
Right.
Yeah. That was yeah.
The scene that got
And Luke.
the best
Yeah.
reaction, the most enthusiastic gasps and joy from the audiences I listened to was when she says, "Oh no, not that ship! It's garbage. The quadcopter explodes."
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
Oh yeah,
And you
Millennium
pan-
Falcon. That was another one. Yeah.
And on the Falcon, then people went, "Yeah, motherfuckers,
Yeah.
Falcon." Well, they might have not said it exactly that way, but that's how.
See,
perceived
my
it.
theater must have been overly emotional. One, I knew it was going to be a loud experience when we burst into applause when we got the Warcraft movie trailer. Like when the Blizzard
We didn't
when
get that. I'm
when the
sad.
Blizzard logo came on the screen, the whole theater erupted in applause.
I
I
really
didn't
wanted
even
that
get the
trailer.
Warcraft trailer.
I got
We did.
I got Warcraft,
that.
the new Independence Day, which looked awesome,
We didn't
and-
even get that trailer.
and Batman vs Superman.
Didn't get that trailer either.
I got Overwatch
Nice.
We got a bunch of Disney trailers.
and Mysterious Beasts, the new Harry Potter movie.
I
Yeah,
would
we
like
got
to have
that
seen
one.
that.
See, I didn't get that one. We got Gods of Egypt, and we've got
Yeah,
I got
the
Gods
Fifth
of Egypt.
Wave, the Jungle Book, but yeah, the Warcraft trailer didn't get the response out of the group I was with. I think my hands, rocketing up into the air, was about the extent of it in the audience. But
Right.
Now,
for us, the 2 points that got it were the Millennium Falcon and it was Han and Chewie. And you could almost feel it in the air. And the reason I asked it when I did is when Carrie Fisher first came on, everybody was kind of like, yeah, okay. And that was, you could almost feel people were wondering, should we clap? Should we not clap? And she got this really lukewarm reception from the group that I was with,
I think part of that scene was ruined by C-3PO.
yeah.
That
Hey, man.
first
I
meeting.
I loudly
He did kinda jump
groaned
in
when I
there.
s-
Yeah, that first meeting between those two in 30 years, that fucking idiot shouldn't have been there. Oh, you may not recognize me because my arm is red.
Why
Fuck
is
off.
he flying around on the transport
He's
with
still
him?
a translator droid.
He's a translator droid. He's actually doing his job for once.
He's
All right.
he's
Now
a bad
I have
character.
to say something. The theater I was in actually got a little bit of an uproar, not only out of myself, but a couple other people in the theater. When they went to the cantina and you see the mythosaur symbol above the cantina.
Oh, the
A
Mandalorian
couple
symbol.
people
No.
got excited,
I saw
as
that.
did I, and was 100% let down by not seeing
Like a
anything
single
in there
Mandalorian.
that related.
Well, she was a junker, so clearly she has gotten just rando shit just hanging around
Right.
there.
I have a
So,
feeling those
I wouldn't be
flags are
surprised if she didn't
basically-
have Slave One in some hangar bay somewhere.
I have a feeling the flags are kind of like who's welcome kind of thing.
That could be.
So because it looks like a neutral place, although things got quiet when her lines were fucking brilliant.
She was
though.
awesome.
Yeah.
That character was great.
She was such a great character.
Now, see
I hope
that-
to see her again. Like, where's my boyfriend? Talking about the Wookiee was just fucking
that was a prominent female character. That
Yeah.
female
Yes,
character was more
yes.
prominent than
She
Captain
was a pivotal
Phasma.
person.
her character influenced the story, drove points, moved the plot, and was not replaceable by just like some rando.
And
Right.
she was relevant. That was the thing with her.
Mhm.
Am I the only person that was expecting a hut when they went in there?
Are the
Because
huts
of
still
music?
around?
Yeah, like I get in there and I'm like, oh man, this is like a hut cantina. Like it's gonna happen, and then there's no huts, and I'm just like,
I thought it was a little corny, and they went with at least a familiar to me movie device where Han walks in, the droid walks in, and then simultaneously a First Order spy and a Resistance spy both call their cronies. Like, wasn't that
Oh,
a little
I
too
liked that.
convenient?
that's
I thought that was
a
pretty good,
movie
too.
device. That's just
Yeah,
like
I know it's fine. It's cliche and it's trope,
It's like,
but
of
I'm
course,
comfortable
the
with it.
First Order is here. They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
they're
yeah.
everywhere.
All right.
And
So
same for the Resistance. I mean,
was anybody else disappointed with how lackluster the scene where we find out who Kylo Ren really is? Like, did you guys feel that was just kind of like a
I think
it was told to us like it should have been a surprise. We should have known. I feel like that was one of the biggest reveals of the movie, and like they were just
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, here it is.
I think it feels lackluster because it was not. It was expected. Like it was.
I thought it was
wasn't
Luke.
hidden very well. It wasn't. It was very. I can't even think of the word.
Disguised, shadowed.
The story led there.
Right.
Like there wasn't really any other conclusion for that.
And seeing further into the movie, again, hindsight, I understand why they did it that way because who he was such a major plot device. The whole we have to stop our son and, the death scene with Han Solo and like it all led up to we need to save Ben. So I get it.
By the way, you guys realize that Leia pretty much was almost accessory to killing Han because she's the one who said, if you see our son, bring him back. And every other time he's seen Kylo Ren, he hasn't gone to try to fetch him, but this time he does because she says go get him.
Right.
If you see
She
it,
might as well have just
don't come
handed him
back.
a signed death warrant and said, "Here you go."
But
You
how
should've
much
been like, don't come back without him.
How
Well,
much more powerful could that reveal have been if they simply waited until the next scene? So let's say that Snoke doesn't say it to him, right? And then we get that scene where they're with, we find the lightsaber and they attack and they steal Rey. And we still don't, some of us know, some of us don't, but we still don't really know who Kylo Ren is. And then Han Solo, the scene could be exactly the same as it was. He looks over. He sees Kylo carrying off Rey. Then he sees Leia, and he goes, I saw our son. And that was the reveal of who he was. Don't you feel like that would have been more powerful than just Snoke mentioning it as a for instance?
I think it could have been.
I agree. I don't think it. I think it would have added to the movie, and it's one of those tidbits. Like when I said earlier that I think the movie is going to suffer from analysis, that's the kind of thing that's going to bubble up to the surface the more we think about it. How that detail was maybe not brought in the most powerful way. So no, I agree with you.
Either way, he's still badass and he's still my favorite.
And talk
guy.
about analyzing the movie to a degree. I watched the Ellen DeGeneres show the other day,
Of course you did.
and they had Daisy Ridley and John and Oscar Isaac on there.
Right.
And Oscar I watched it because they were going to be on there. So Oscar made the comment that when he was doing his auditioning and stuff, and then they were like, okay, well, this is your cockpit that you're going to be in. He talked to Harrison Ford about, okay, you're actually a pilot. You piloted the Millennium Falcon. Is there any pointers you can do? And Harrison Ford was just like, just fly it. Just do it. But the director and the guys were kind of like, okay, here's where you're going to be sitting. And we already have the sequence for all the buttons you're going to push. You push this button, then you push that button, then you push this button, and you push that button. Don't get it out of order and do it in that order. And Oscar Isaac said, this is what really made you realize there are some really asshole fans out there. He said that the directors and stuff made him do that because there are fans out there that would analyze every scene like that to the T.
And say that he didn't start the ship up the
Did he
same way
push
that
the right
Solo
button?
did.
Right,
He didn't
right,
push
that's
the buttons in the right
exactly what he
order.
said. Exactly.
That's why I often say that the fans are usually the worst fucking part of fandom.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
They ruin
They,
everything.
they put the dumb
we
in fandom.
ruin everything.
No, we do. And that's why, my whole intention of this episode was not to be an analyzing, which is what it's becoming, which is great. But just, discussion. But you can't, it's Star Wars. You have to analyze it. It's Disney's first take on it. It's the first Star Wars without Lucas as a director. Or at least without
not even a director, just not in the production.
not in it
crew
at all. So it has to be analyzed, and a lot of people said that it was, again, I made the kind of the jest in the beginning of the top of the episode, it's episode 4 in HD, and they played it safe. They played it really, really close to the chest, and I don't blame them. J.J. Abrams has gone on record saying he was scared shitless the last 2 weeks because this is his one chance.
Yep.
And And if he fucked this movie up, he fucked it up
career
for
would be
Disney. He
pretty
fucked
much
it up for
over.
Disney.
Now the thing about episode 7 is that it's I mean, as it is right now, it's clearly not ever going to be as good as at least the whole of 4, 5, and 6.
Right.
Yeah.
Or really any one of them, except for with maybe the exception of Return of the Jedi. But I'm on the track to believe that 7, 8, and 9 are going to be far greater than 4, 5, and 6
As a whole, right.
Yeah.
could have ever been imagined.
I agree.
Yeah, people
think-
are
Yeah,
looking.
I'm hopeful. And one of the things that I want to make clear, one of the problems that we have often when we analyze movies is that the moment we start finding flaws, we use that as counterpoints to keep ourselves from enjoying it. And that's what a lot of people did with the prequels. Like, oh, the prequels are garbage because there's this flaw and there's this flaw and there's this flaw. Yeah, but there's also this quality and this quality and this quality. So, and I try not to fall into that trap, and this is why I don't hate the prequels as much as the general public. Probably
but
to
the
Nate's
prequels-
delight.
So what about
Prequels
when you
are
have
bad though?
what about when you have the aunt and uncle who very clearly saw the droids in the prequels and then somehow forget what they looked like in episode 4?
or even get saddled with a random kid from that was this grandson of the mother of a slave that their dad bought.
Well, look at it this way. Obi-Wan hung out with those droids a lot more. Because you got to understand something about droids. Like, we see droids as, oh, they're a fun, cool character. But in the Star Wars universe, they're property.
Yeah, they're
right?
basically
They're-
slaves.
Yeah, there's like someone brings over their Labrador and their cat to your place for a couple of days, and then you see the same Labrador and the same cat 20 years later. You don't remember nor care, and that's
they're just,
droids in the Star
Fair
Wars.
enough. Fair
They're
enough.
just another dog or cat.
Exactly.
enough.
Except when you spend as much time as Obi-Wan fucking Kenobi, then maybe he should recognize that Labrador and kitty cat.
Right.
Because he spent a lot of time with those droids.
Now, see, I was complaining that they named him Ben because I'm thinking, and again, because the prequels were more recent. I'm like, when did they ever fucking call him Ben? And then I went back. I've gone back and watched I'm like, oh yeah, that's
Old
how
Ben
he was,
Kenobi?
Ben Kenobi. That's right.
Leia
But his name was
sees
Obi-Wan.
Ben off the corner of her fucking eye, and like Solo never got along with him. I don't see. Oh yeah, we should call him Ben. Yeah, he was annoying and an old man. They don't like. Ben would be the name that Luke would give his kid, not the Solos.
Okay, now I'm gonna give you what is probably my most nitpicky analysis of the movie, and to the point where all 4 of you are gonna laugh at me. JF, I don't know if I mentioned this to you yet. Now that I know who Kylo is, his name really fucking bugs me. Because in hindsight, it's obvious. You could fucking interchange his name.
Oh, Sky.
It's Kylo,
Solo.
Kylo Ren, Kylo Ben, Ren Solo, Ben Solo. It fucking rhymes. Like, now that you know who he is, it's obvious.
Here's where I'm gonna laugh at you. You're now starting to have issues with the name and the names in Star Wars.
Well, no, okay, fair enough.
And that's the issue you have with Kylo Ren.
Yes, that his
Really?
name rhymes. But anyway,
Not that his name is Kylo
I
Ren.
will say I'm happy as somebody who doesn't like the EU and was happy that Disney obliterated it all. I'm glad that they didn't name him Jason, especially Jacen, because that's just stupid. No offense to my childhood friend who named his son and daughter Jason and Jaina, and I feel really bad for him that they abolished the EU.
Is her name Jaina Proudmore?
No, it's Jason and Jaina from the EU because that was Han and Leia's twins were Jason and Jaina.
But
I don't think it's too bad.
Jaina
People are
was the
giving
Dreadlord.
their kids really fucked up names these days anyway, so it doesn't matter.
It's okay. I wanted to name my son Anakin, but my wife said no.
I named my daughter after an operating system.
Did you?
I named my kid after
You
Li-
named your daughter Ubuntu?
Wait, Linux?
No, but I did name her Linux.
Well, that's kind of a cool name, though. But
Red Hat, clean your room.
But the thing is, though, with the name Linux, in like 15 years, she's going to be a total hipster.
Yeah, so I mean, it'll work out.
Like naming your kid Linux today was like naming your kid Sunshine 15 years ago.
Shit, you need to buy her only red headwear. Don't tell her
And she needs to dress up as a penguin for Halloween every year.
exactly. Don't explain
penguins are
that
good.
shit.
Definitely gonna be her
So many
spirit
people
animal.
would not get that. My uncle would get that, but nobody would get that.
But anyway,
Poor kid's life is going to be meta.
back to Star Wars.
Red fedoras for the rest of her life.
Well, maybe there was a tangent. Was the video production done on a Linux run computer? They use some open source software, right? Maybe that was connected in some way.
All right. Now I have an issue with the music. So,
Okay.
looking or thinking back on it, is there like any particular pieces of music that you could clearly remember coming out of the movie that weren't redone
Original
from
Star
the
Wars.
previous movies?
If you're asking, does this movie have its Duel of the Fate? The answer, you're right, is no, and that is a shame.
I mean, not even. Yeah, well, I mean, that would at least be something. But,
But
yeah, it doesn't have any original recognizable music.
But let me ask you this. Is Duel of the Fates only so prominent and recognizable because it was the best thing about that movie? Whereas this movie was good enough on its own where you didn't try to grasp at something to find something to like about it.
Duel of the Fates wasn't the only recognizable thing, at least out of episode 1. I mean, the Gungan City was a pretty recognizable thing, at least to me. The Droid Army March, which became the Clone Army March, which kind of pissed me off for episode 2, because I'm like, really, John Williams, you kind of penciled that in as just the general, we have an army theme. I mean, those rang out clearly in my head too.
I think that the duel fates, like that sticks out to everyone so clearly because of the scene it was associated with in that movie.
Oh yeah, it was such a long scene.
It was a long scene, but it was like the most heart-pounding, like on the edge of your seat, what's gonna happen.
And it needed the music to do
it's
that.
there for that reason.
Because there was a lot of
despite
downtime.
it being in episode 1, it is still the best lightsaber battle that has graced the silver screen.
I disagree.
Agreed.
I agree.
Obi-Wan Anakin episode 3.
No, that was no.
It was
That was too much platforming.
Ray Park brings something to that.
Now,
It's not just the acrobatics. There's something
it's a
about
lack
his facial.
Ironically,
there's a lack of technique in the in episode 3 in that battle.
well, see, that's
That
why.
was just more angry
That's why I
swordsman
liked
to
it,
me.
because it was a passionate battle. And
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that the one in episode 1 with Darth Maul is
Super choreographed.
it's
right.
it's
No,
better.
it is. I will say my complaint about both of them is the end of both battles was stupid. Darth Maul should have known better. He was supposedly
Darth Maul should have been the Darth Vader of that freaking trilogy.
right.
He should have persisted all
and
3 movies.
the whole
Oh, yeah.
I've got the high ground. Okay, and I'm the most powerful Sith in the universe. I don't care if you have the high ground. Like, there should have been more he could have done about that. Like, they were both.
Yeah. Oh,
and
I didn't even think about that.
They were
Put that
both
together.
They were both ended conveniently.
Because Obi-Wan had the low ground and he won, and he had the high ground. How well would he think that he would win? Did you ever
That's
think about that?
True.
Hey guys, I'll give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Oh, that's fine.
Now,
And
did
I
any of you guys
go ahead.
go ahead?
I was just gonna say I had no real comment. I was just gonna say I also am one of the few that really liked the Yoda Dooku battle in episode 2.
I loved
I
that.
didn't.
So many
I
people hated
loved
it. They were
it.
like, "Oh, we want
even.
puppet Yoda." I'm like, "All right, go back to 1970."
Okay, yeah.
No, so,
people want
look.
puppets, then they complain that Jedi has too many
No, no.
puppets. Make up your fucking mind, people.
No, I have no problem with Yoda as he was presented in any of the movies, except for the fact that Yoda, he's not a lightsaber wielder. His
Yes,
usage
he
of
is.
the Force is no. His usage of the Force is completely beyond the barbaric use of a lightsaber. He is all about
But that battle was
attuning
anything
with the
but
Force,
barbaric.
being-
That battle was beautiful.
it was beautiful. It looked good, but it's not Yoda.
I see what you're saying, Mike, and I don't necessarily disagree, but I feel that Yoda, and it's shown the way that the battle starts that it's to him this is a last resort. It's like
his whole quote to Luke in that wars don't make one great is his overall ringing philosophy about how to use the Force.
But keep in mind that quote to Luke came after this battle.
True.
Like, and as JF said, this was a last resort. He did not want to do it, but it was barely a lightsaber battle. It was competitive ice skating with light. Like he was doing double and triple
he was
spins
fighting
in the air, and,
like a Yoda would.
And at the end, he gave up on the battle to save Darth Vader. But okay, Sean, I cut you off to say that. So what were you gonna say?
I was just going to ask, was anybody else really concerned at one point in the movie when it looked like Kylo Ren was going to go the way of Darth Maul, that we were going to get a one and done out of him, just like we did with Darth Maul? Because when that lightsaber battle was going on at one point, I really thought she was going to off him, and we were going to be looking at another Darth Maul.
I was worried.
No, I not for 1 second.
I didn't have that fear. I did not have that fear.
Yeah,
it didn't look like it was set up. I don't think Rey at that point in the story has it in her to kill someone in cold blood like that.
And the one, I mean, to directly answer the question, I was kind of afraid because I would have been more upset about that than I was upset about Han dying. Because Kylo was awesome. But two, let me ask you this: who played Kylo Ren? No, seriously, who played Kylo Ren? What's the actor's name?
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Okay, all of you are disproving my point. Never mind.
It's Adam Driver.
Thank you. Who played Darth Maul?
Ray Park.
Ray Park.
Oh, okay. See, you guys, I was going to say, I know Adam Driver. I have no idea who played Darth Maul. So that...
Dude, he played Toad in X-Men. Come on.
See,
there is something though. Ray Park is not an actor; he's a choreographer. His main profession is choreography and martial arts, not necessarily acting. Adam Driver is an actor first, above other things. So I see what you mean. I get it.
Right. Adam Driver is a big actor, or one of the larger actors.
What has he acted on? I've never heard of him.
Yeah.
I'll pull up his IMDb while somebody else brings up something about Star Wars.
Well, he's in the HBO show Girls, and he is also fantastic.
Shut up.
In the movie.
Is he the asshole boyfriend?
Yeah, I think so. I've never actually seen the show,
that the main character dates, who's all.
I think so. But there's also a movie called This Is Where I Leave You.
I've heard
that
of
was
that.
Tina Fey and Jason Bateman and a couple others, and he plays one of the brothers, and he's got a great role in that movie.
Yeah,
so he is a
I haven't
very
heard of
good
that one
actor.
either.
Yeah, he's been on Girls for the last 4 years. Girls for the last 4 years.
He's the asshole boyfriend on Girls.
He must be. Adam
I think he
Sackler.
is.
Do what?
Adam Sackler does that.
Sure, I think that's it. So the main character kind of sort of dates off and on this one guy who's just a dick to her, like the whole time.
Right.
And she keeps going back to him, and he lives in some shitty apartment somewhere, and there's a storyline about him and a dog or something at some point.
As far as Kylo Ren, and my wife made this comment. Okay, for one, I loved the way his hair looked. I thought his hair was really cool, and it helped hide his Dumbo ears, so that worked out well.
Yeah, his ears are.
But she
his
made
ears are the other Knights of Ren.
But she made a comment
Lightsabers.
Well, it's like the guy that played Shane. They have their own SAG card. My wife made the comment on the way home from the movie. You never saw him put the helmet back on. Because he couldn't with that fucking hair. Was there a hairdresser behind the scenes that tucked his hair up under the helmet for him?
How heavy was that helmet, though?
Well, I read an analysis about that when he threw it to the ground. No, seriously, this is how bad these fans are. When he threw it to the ground, and this also relates back to the question of why was he hitting himself. When he threw it to the ground, it made a large clank. So obviously it was.
when he put it in that like
twice.
cast pile, like
Yeah,
Right.
he does it twice.
So it's heavy, which means it's uncomfortable, which means to wear it for a long period of time is painful, which is sort of his punishment to himself to bring on the pain, to bring up the anger, to make him more powerful in the dark side.
And see, that's one of the reasons why I think he's a dark side poser. Like he's really trying too hard.
Are you trying to tell me that he's an Anakin Skywalker hipster?
Yes.
no,
Yes.
Mike's
I
right.
was dark side before it was cool.
I'm not sure I
Yes.
like the term poser for it, but I like the idea that his default setting, like Anakin's default setting, is like light side, and he's sliding towards, like, he's tempted by the dark side.
Right.
Meanwhile, he seems to have his default setting being dark side and being tempted by the light side and trying to fight it by inflicting pain on himself and all that bullshit.
But
Right.
you can track Anakin's reasons for, sliding into the dark side.
Slipping,
All the
yeah.
things that he
He's
went through.
dumb, and
He has. I mean, with what
Saving
we
his
were given-
mom, saving Padme, like he
not being
slipped.
able to come back and see his mom, all the trials and tribulations that the Jedi Order had put him through, not being on the as not being accepted as a Jedi Master. All of this he's had to go back and
He
through.
was also a
and,
spoiled brat, too.
having Palpatine kind of like egg him on too.
Yeah, and just this wedge put between him and everybody else and everything that they do. He goes into basically a state of disbelief in the actions that anyone can do anything for him. So he's constantly having to take, his way of things.
Right.
And I never got that with Kylo. Like, I don't understand why. I want to know. I'm sure we'll get more, but I want to know more of how and why Kylo is where he is. Like, really, what happened here?
He senses that the light side is weak, and he realizes that you can be more powerful in the dark side.
Yeah, I think
But
you have
he-
to answer the question of why did he take out all those other, the others
Because
that
because
Luke
that's
was training.
because that's
once we know
exactly
that-
what Anakin did.
With
and
his
he's
shitty
trying to
lightsaber skills,
emulate
how did he?
Anakin. If you think about it, a lot of what he did mimicked that. I mean, again, murder a bunch of trainees. It's exactly what Anakin did. He's trying to walk in the shoes of his grandfather.
Mhm.
Now-
Yeah,
yeah,
in that
see?
scene where he's
A
looking
poser.
at the mask, he's like,
Right.
"Grandfather, show me the way."
Now,
grandfather."
I have a question about that, and actually, somebody Charles won't know what I'm talking about, but somebody in the Tadpool brought this up in the Tadpool spoilers group, and I found it interesting. And wasn't Anakin redeemed? Who's talking to him? Who's he
Yeah.
talking to? Now, I made the comment of, well, him talking to the helmet is that it's relative to a real life situation of, seeing the Virgin Mary in a piece of toast. Like you're gonna see what you want, you're gonna hear what you want. But their counter argument to that was, right, but this exists in a universe where there are Force ghosts and they do come back. You would think if he had a piece of Anakin's property and he was speaking to Anakin, Anakin would go, look, you're an idiot. Get off the dark side.
But he's not. The thing is, like, yes, it's a universe where there are Force ghosts and all that, but they're not necessarily common knowledge. It's not like everybody's going, man, I wish I could talk to Grandpa, but he's not a Force ghost, so shucks. Like, it's still fairly hidden knowledge. Like,
He
Well,
wasn't
Han
strong
knows.
enough.
Han knew it.
Yeah, but Han was
he?
there for it. No,
Han was there for it.
yeah, he was there. I think did he not see the three of them, Yoda, Anakin, and Obi-Wan?
know if Han-
I don't think he was there.
I mean,
I
yeah, no,
think the only
that
one-
scene at the end of Jeddah, yeah, he was there. It's not clear whether he saw it though, but he was there.
Right.
Also,
I was gonna say,
even if he
the only one
did
that
see
really
it,
reacts to it is Luke, isn't it? In Jedi,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
only one that really reacts to it. So I mean,
Right.
For sure,
it
yeah.
could be that they're there, but Luke is the only one that can see them.
Right.
But at this
like,
point,
maybe
in time,
Luke's
I
just
mean,
fucking high.
man, you don't know what those little Ewoks got, man.
Exactly.
He's high on the Force. No, but even if Han did see it, that doesn't necessarily mean he sat down with his, like, Ben, let me tell you about Force ghosts, yo. It's like, it's not a discussion that he might have had with his kid. So I think Nate's original impression is that, yeah, he's talking to this mask because to him it's a representation of what he wants his grandfather to have been. But I mean, the whole redemption of Darth Vader is something that happened very much between Luke and Anakin, and everybody else probably remembers Darth Vader and Anakin as the bad guy.
Right.
Yeah,
No,
I mean
that's-
that's all that Leia ever saw was Vader.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
Luke was the only character still alive now that
Seen what?
Yeah,
he did.
saw
remember
him
when
turn.
Dad destroyed my home planet? That was super.
yeah.
Remember when Dad killed my dad?
Yeah, yeah, but that's the
Shucks.
thing, and for all we know, the discussion, the dichotomy, like the whole problem between Luke and Kylo might have erupted about a discussion regarding Anakin, about Luke saying no, he went back to the light side, and Kylo saying, well, that's bullshit. No, he was super powerful, and I want to be like him. Like who knows where that discussion went?
See, I wouldn't be surprised if, in how many ever years in the storyline transpire between 7 and 8, Kylo goes, he gets trained by whoever Snoke is, Plagueis or whoever, whatever Sith Lord he ends up being, and he becomes much more powerful. And I
mean, yeah, he's gonna have to.
I wouldn't be surprised if Kylo takes out Luke and it becomes Rey's job in Episode 9 to take out Kylo.
Well, yeah, that's what's going to happen. So we're gonna have to see Rey fail after Luke, training her and everything. It won't really be like a failure, as in like Rey failed to save Luke. Luke will have to sacrifice himself or give himself to the Force in order to, for everybody to get away. That whole Obi-Wan Kenobi thing. So we're definitely gonna see Luke die. It's definitely gonna be at Kylo's hands. Well, actually, maybe not.
Well, what if my theory is correct?
It could be at
Plagueis
somebody
is
else's
his
hands, and
grandfather.
Kylo will be pissed off
So
that he didn't get to do it.
Anakin's dad kills Luke. So Luke is killed by his grandfather.
I have another theory. That's the thing. Like here's where I think it's gonna go. I don't think Kylo is gonna kill Luke, and I don't think it's gonna be Rey's job to kill Kylo in Episode 9. I think Episode 8 is actually going to be Kylo's redemption, and it like the scenario that you're talking about, having Anakin's Force Ghost show up and say, "No, whoa." I think that's actually what's going to happen, because
I've changed
there
that since seeing the movie.
Sorry?
By the way,
Sorry.
I've changed that. That we had that discussion pre-Episode 7.
Mm-hmm.
I've changed that since seeing the movie. I have a new theory now.
Well,
won't. But
my
continue what
theory
you were
is
saying.
that like Episode 8 is going to be Rey with like probably some help, and obviously like some trials and tribulation, is going to redeem Kylo Ren, and Episode 9 is them going after Darth Plagueis, or actually Snoke, and I think Snoke is going to motherfucking murder Luke in Episode 8.
Right. See,
And that's where the
Well, JF, I like where you're going. How about here's a middle ground? All right. So
I love that we're compromising on a theory. This is great.
So we have Rey finding out who Kylo really is in relation to her. Her wanting to redeem him because he is still family. Plagueis or Snoke or whoever he may end up being, somehow manufacturing Luke's death in whatever fashion he does. So now we have Rey is still on her quest to redeem Kylo. So it's going to end up being a lot of Episode 9 with Rey trying to bring Kylo back.
Maybe
To
I'm
the good
basing
side.
part of my theory on
and like both of them taking out Snoke.
Yeah, that could make sense. I'm basing my theory like for the timeline on the fact that apparently Hayden Christensen has been on set for Episode 8.
Oh yeah, I've heard
Although
that.
those might just be rumors, but if that's the situation, I can see like that very situation that you described about having the Anakin Force Ghost like go, hey, cool your shit, like take it down a level. But now we're talking about this whole Force family dynamic, but we're ignoring some of the other important characters that were established, which are like Finn and Poe Dameron, that are probably going to have their own influence on the story. I don't think they're going to be like side characters. At least I hope not.
I think Poe will be. I think. What was it? Was it Mike earlier that said? I think whoever said it was right. That Poe is essentially Han Solo for this trilogy. Finn.
He took Han Solo's torch.
Right. I'd like to see Finn play a big role. I really loved his character. I thought he was witty. He was fun. I loved the chemistry between. I mean, maybe he's going to be Chewie. Maybe he'll work with Poe.
Oh, that's almost offensive.
Oh, yeah, no.
Why is that offensive?
I think
Chewie was
Chewie's going to be Chewie.
Chewie was an intelligent and very well thought character.
Right, and he can understand you, so watch out.
But
That was great.
that was a great line.
He
That was a good
understands you.
One of the last things I wanted to say, at least in regards to certain parts and something I felt was missing, and this isn't my idea; it was brought to me, but I loved it. The very last scene that Han and Leia are together when he leaves the Resistance base and goes to Starkiller base. Do you guys agree with me when I say that it would have been perfect if he looked at Leia and said, "I love you," and she looked back and said, "I know"?
I was really waiting for that.
That would have been good symmetry.
Yeah,
I was really waiting for that.
I think my only personal disagreement with that is, in hindsight, is it would have been obvious he was going to die.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, I still think it kind of was by that time anyway.
Yeah,
I mean, they didn't do a terribly good job trying to hide the fact that he wasn't really going to come back from this, but they
Right.
kind of didn't need to either.
Right.
Like it was a very long goodbye for Han, and we had time to absorb the fact that he might not come back from this.
Right.
And it's good that they did it. It's good that they did it this way because Han Solo is such a powerful, such a strong character with so much charisma on the screen that if you keep him, he will always have the new characters in his shadows. So he needed to go.
Right.
That's right.
And like for me, so Kylo being his
And
son.
that's gonna be the same argument for Luke too.
That's true. Kylo being his son and Han Solo being killed by Kylo was spoiled for me before I saw the movie. I read a comment on like an E-Bombs World post, and somebody put a picture up that had the saber going through Han that said, you know, Kylo's his son and he kills him at the end of the movie. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So that was kind of spoiled for me, but it didn't ruin the moment for me because that scene was acted so well by both of those characters.
Yeah, definitely.
The dialogue, the hand down the face, and just like that longing in Harrison Ford's face, like how like almost saying, "Look, you're still my son, and I still love you, and I forgive you," as he's falling off the fucking handrailless walkway.
It's Empire design. It's
What is with the Empire? Like no handrails anywhere.
the Empire believes in it believes in natural selection.
Survival of
One
the
good
fittest.
draft, man.
Exactly. Look. If you need handrails, you're not Empire material. That's all we're saying.
Right. But that scene, even knowing it was going to happen, it was acted so well by both of the actors, and the dialogue was written so well that it was more powerful than any
Just-
spoiler could have done.
Just
I'll be right
a
back in a
line.
second.
Just a line by Kylo Ren of saying, "I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I'm strong enough." And the ambiguity, like in hindsight, you know he's talking that he basically what he needs to do to complete his fall to the dark side is to kill his own father.
Right.
But it can be interpreted and was interpreted by Han that like he needs to do the opposite.
Right.
It's very beautifully written. It's a good send off. So knowing that Han dies is, I mean, it's like knowing you're gonna have a cookie and actually savoring a cookie. It's like it's not the same thing. I want cookies.
And I would add to that too the acting of Chewbacca in that scene too. I mean, the reaction of him just completely going ape shit was just the perfect reaction, and I thought played really, really well in that scene.
Agreed.
Oh, everything about Chewbacca in this movie was, I would say, it was very subtly played, but very beautiful. Like when he just the way he hugs what's her name, Carrie Fisher's character Leia, and like everything that he does enhances the scenes that he's in, but not in a not in a hey look it's Chewie people, you guys love Chewie don't you kind of way. It's very underplayed. I really liked how they did Chewbacca in this movie.
Yeah, but just the level of distraught that you feel coming out of him when he sees Han Solo die, it just completely goes nuts. It was just really a fantastic moment, I thought.
Right. Speaking of Leia hugging people, how did Rey know that was Leia? They never met.
They're both force sensitive.
That's a cop out. That's a cop out for a badly written scene. So either again, so that just reinforces the thought of she has to be a Skywalker.
Oh no, there's no
because
doubt about
Leia knew who she was, and the only reason she knew to hug Leia was because Leia was like giving that, either your father or your uncle just died. Well, not uncle. Well, yeah, I guess uncle-in-law. I don't know where the fuck that happens. But
someone
didn't
dear to
Han
both
at some point tell?
But how did
Rey
but she didn't know she
I don't think so.
Sure. But that doesn't she know she looked like. So what, some old lady with weird hair? What, did she watch episode 4 and know who Leia was?
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that one and get back with you on that one.
Okay.
I'm very confident the whole idea of that scene is to show us that these two are connected through the Force. Like this is like the same reason, the same way you see when Han dies, you see that little cutaway to Leia like feeling his death. It's the same thing. Like we know that Leia is Force sensitive. She probably, I mean, first of all, Rey walks out of the Falcon. Like not everybody hangs out in the Falcon to begin with. And so she sees someone walk out of Falcon and she sees like this other person probably senses that family connection or just knows, oh, that's my daughter, but I can't tell her for X reason.
That's my
Isn't it possible
niece.
too that just
Niece,
Leia being who she is and being as important as she is just a known entity around, the galaxy as far as that goes? I mean,
of the smuggler who's never
Ren-
left Jakku.
Or Rey
I don't
did.
know.
Rey is aware of the Resistance.
Right,
she's
but
aware of
remember
the existence
remember
of
the
the
line with
Resistance.
Finn, which was again one of the best interactions in the movie.
Oh,
when she
speaking
goes,
of which-
"I've never met anyone in the Resistance before." He goes, "Okay, good. Well, because they look like me."
Well,
Yeah,
not
not all of them.
exactly, but some of them.
Speaking of Rey being familiar with things, so one of the reasons why I'm also thinking that she is sister to Ren is she obviously has some memory loss somehow, and whether that same memory loss that she has is affecting the other characters in certain whatever ways, as to their backgrounds could be a thing too, why she's not recognized or what have you, what's going on, whatever with her background that we're going to eventually find out. But
on a side thought,
she thinks that the Jedi are a myth.
okay, well, there hasn't been any forever, so
There hasn't been any for 30 years.
Well,
that's enough of a time for it to become a myth.
Actually,
for
not
50 years.
not even, because how old would the assumption that how old do we think Kylo was when he turned?
Probably
They said what, after 12?
20.
So between so he was a teenager. So
I would say, yeah.
So when she was born, the most powerful Jedi in the universe was training apprentices. How does she not know they're there?
He might not
Was
have
he
had
training them in
an ad
secret?
in every newspaper about it, though.
No, that's why I'm saying that's part of her memory loss, whatever is going on there.
Fair.
She doesn't know because someone willed it for her not to know.
Yes, her father, a.k.a. Luke Skywalker.
Or maybe just like whoever their parent
or
was
maybe,
said, let's
or maybe
dump
Kylo
her.
Ren.
Or just, you don't need to erase someone's memory when they're a child and you dump them on a desert planet.
That's true.
Well, okay.
What?
Like,
Hey,
there's very little memory.
there
I don't think they had the internet on Jakku. So
just to toy with the idea of her not being a Skywalker, is it possible she's a Kenobi?
Obi-Wan didn't have any children.
No, I don't believe that.
I would love that.
Is
It won't happen, but
Is it-
it'd be so rad.
Obi-Wan didn't have any children.
Nobody's brought up the
That
scene
we know
as
of.
her. Nobody's
That
brought
he
up the
knows
scene as
of.
her as a kid. screaming for that person that's leaving her.
Okay, now this
Holding
might
the hand of somebody.
somebody, and
Yeah.
was that the Millennium Falcon flying away?
Random. No,
Nope.
it wasn't.
Wasn't.
It was
Not the
some
Millennium Falcon.
other ship that had like 2 engines on the back.
Okay.
Well, here's my semi theory, just off the wall thought. The guy Poe is talking to.
Be more
He-
specific.
I feel like he knew her, knew
Oh.
Rey.
The old judge from Judge Dredd. Okay.
Okay, I feel like he knew Rey. I feel like that is the person
Oh,
that they
Max
left
von
Rey
Sydow.
with. I feel like that gentleman is the gentleman that they left Rey with.
That gentleman.
And I feel like that if Han brought her there, he left the Millennium Falcon there. Even though it was said that, it was stolen from him and it was stolen from this person, it was stolen from that person.
Which is
I
probably
feel-
true.
Which, I mean, that would be the history of the Millennium Falcon to a
Right.
T.
Right.
But I feel like that he left it on Jakku.
For her.
And I feel like he left it there possibly when he left Rey there.
See, now
I
Because-
don't think so. I don't buy it.
Because
I don't go that
It's
far.
his ship.
I agree with you that perhaps the person holding her hand in that flashback scene was the character played by Max von Sydow in the opening scene. I can accept that because Max, similar to my argument with Kylo Ren and Adam Driver earlier, Max von Sydow is a big actor. He's well known. We all knew, at least I should say most of us probably knew that was Max von Sydow. Nobody knew who that character was. And so he's going to play a role. I don't recall him dying.
Lightsaber.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he did die. That's right. Okay, so maybe he'll be in some flashback scenes.
Maybe.
But or maybe maybe at least it will be assigned to us that maybe he was the one watching over Rey.
I think the strength of the actors should not weigh too much into what we see because it's not like we're thinking, man, that Daniel Craig stormtrooper is going to come back because Daniel Craig, am I right? I mean, no.
That was pretty
no.
funny.
Right, or the junkyard dealer who was Simon Pegg.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
He was a
we're
pivotal
not-
character.
There's a
No,
lot of people that wanted to be in that movie and would have taken any fucking part just to say
Well,
that they're in the
and
movie.
yeah, and
or
that's-
Matt Parkman in the background as an X-wing fighter.
oh, was he?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I didn't
yeah.
even
Man,
notice.
But he has lines. He's gonna
he
come
did
back.
have lines. I wasn't expecting him to have lines.
Right, and well, and we had Akbar at the planning room. That was
Yep.
great. Oh, actually, Sean, when your question a while back about applauses, that was one of the biggest applauses was when General Akbar came on the screen.
Really?
someone in my theater,
Yeah.
someone in my theater yelled out, "It's a
It's
trap."
a trap. Yeah.
See, I was in a
There was a
very
frog
quiet group, I
pants.
think.
Sorry, there was a Frog Pants fan in our theater, I assume, or at least an Extra Life fan, because somebody yelled out, "It's a wrap," which, if you guys are familiar with Scott's comic of Admiral Snack Bar,
Yeah.
somebody hollered out, "It's a wrap." So they're
Well, that got sent around by a lot of people without Scott's attribution on it, because I know at one point even George Takei had put that on his Facebook page, and it didn't have Scott's attribution on it. So that one's been
Also,
passed around a lot.
I hate to be like
Or the guy who posed for George Takei, at least.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and I hate to be like the shit in the pot, if you will, but the making jokes about trap rhyming with things, or it's like it's a tarp, and like this has been going on for 20 years.
Mhm.
It's not like Scott Johnson made a really cool comic about it with the General Snack Bar, but
Admiral.
It's not exactly like
well,
it's not
no,
exactly like
I know. I just happened to pick up on it because I'm a Frog Pants fan, but I just thought it was pretty funny. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's Scott's comic.
I mean, it could have been. I mean,
Right.
Let's just say that this kind of fandom has kind of overlaps.
That's true. Anyway, I didn't mean for that much analysis on that comment. I was just making a funny comment.
You're talking to Star Wars nerd about Star Wars. Obviously, you're gonna get some analysis.
Right.
Yet again,
But
back
yeah.
to what I said earlier, Star Wars fans analyze everything
Right.
to a T.
So, but yeah, that was one of the biggest That was one of the biggest applauses. But I never answered that, but I won't bring it back up. But really quick, for my theater, aside from, again, I did mention the Blizzard thing, but every time a legacy character came on, people cheered. When we found out who Kylo was, the theater gasped. When we when Han died, there was like a and then like a moment of silence.
Yep.
Like no one. It was like it was. If any of you are wrestling fans, it was like when Brock Lesnar ended the streak at WrestleMania when he beat the Undertaker at WrestleMania for the first time. Anyone did it for the first time, and it was the quietest moment in wrestling history.
Or Stone Cold coming out and stunning both Kurt Angle and The Rock.
Oh yeah, and it was
and The Rock.
yeah, and everyone's like, "What just happened?" But yeah,
He's officiating the match. Just stuns them both and leaves.
Such a great.
No,
I have a
it was
feeling
Triple
we're
H,
the
that's what it
only.
was.
I have a feeling we're the only two that know what we're talking about, though.
WrestleMania, yeah.
But yeah,
yeah, Greg Grunberg as an X-wing pilot. Yay!
I thought you were going to say Greg the Hammer Valentine and keep wrestling going.
No. I don't have the knowledge base to make that kind of reference. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I forgive you.
So, something that Peter in the chat room mentioned way back, though, that was kind of a disappointment was the fact that of the ships the First Order had, all we saw was TIE fighters, and the only thing the Resistance had, all they had were X-wings. Where were the A-wings, the Y-wings, B-wings? Where's the TIE Advance, the TIE bombers? Come on. We
didn't need him yet.
We didn't see any of those in the first Star Wars movie, though.
But we're at the 7th. Come on.
We're reestablishing a trilogy, though.
Yeah, they'll come back as they need them.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
They didn't want to put too many things in there as far as like vehicle combat stuff. It was fine.
Yeah, I disagree.
I mean, I get it. But
I'm just saying, like that is one, like the whole space thing I think was not as well done as some of the previous movies. So and part of it was maybe the lack of variety in ships. I mean, just the fact that the Resistance had not a single capital ship was a bit of a disappointment. It would have been neat to see them show up like an old beat up Mon Calamari cruiser to deliver the X-wings instead of just having the X-wings come out of hyperspace.
We don't know they didn't have capital ships. They just didn't have any in the general location, at least. Right. They could have all been like parked elsewhere, doing other things, hiding something.
And is it
maybe? But that's conjecture. I wanted to see something. I wanted to feel more like an actual military engagement and not just like
skirmish.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole idea that they're going to destroy buildings and they're using fighters instead of using bombers seems like a very poor military decision.
The way that I understand it is that the First Order has been around for long enough. They've been causing a lot of problems for the rebellion, for the Resistance, and have probably decimated numbers and spread them out as far as they can go, which is why the First Order is essentially spreading out themselves, going around just tying up loose ends, looking for everybody. So right now, everybody's kind of hiding, waiting for a time when they can rally together again. Well, why they didn't do that for Starkiller, good, I don't know, but waiting for a more proper time where they can rally together again and get things done as they need to.
Do you guys feel like even the sake of mentioning the Republic was purely done as kind of a throwback to the original trilogy of, hey, it's still here? Like it was like we never really saw anybody. They never participated. They just got blown up by the First Order. Like, was that their role in the movie?
I feel like it was
pretty much.
Yeah.
I felt like
that was them getting rid of anything from episodes 1, 2, and 3,
and that was poorly, I might add, because the Republic is something that's there from the. I mean,
there were three planets that got blown up.
I think it was
and
five,
all
wasn't it?
Conveniently next to another.
Yeah.
But and I feel like compared to episode 4, where they managed to at least give us a reason to care that Alderaan gets destroyed, because you can see Leia sort of panicking and like freaking out that it's happening. Here it's like, oh, we're gonna destroy the seat of the Republic, which is next door, which is convenient, and like 3 planets, and we're gonna shoot there, and All right, fine, sure.
You
okay.
know what
It's like we don't care. They didn't do anything to make us give a damn about what was happening.
You know what Goofy
Well, they did the
thought
same thing
just
with Alderaan.
what Goofy thought just entered my head, and it's really dumb, but I'm gonna say it because it's funny. What's the average lifespan of a Gungan? I mean, was maybe Jar Jar still holding a seat in the Republic Senate, and that was their way of killing Jar Jar? They're like, look,
my
we killed
God.
Jar Jar.
Say
We
it
did something
so.
right.
Nah, Jar Jar's a
Let
Sith
that
Lord.
happen.
He's still running around somewhere.
Jar Jar's Snoke. I retract my
Shane,
previous
sure.
theory.
Jar Jar is Snoke. Sure, why not?
He just
No,
had some
I'm
down to
elocution
believe
lessons
that.
in the meantime.
I feel like it was Disney's way of saying bye-bye prequels. Bye-bye.
No, that's very possible because they the only way they described it was it's the Republic, and they blew it up.
And you
Yep.
never really we ever hear of the Republic in 4, 5, and 6?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah,
they
no, we
talk
did.
about it.
Yeah, they
I'm-
talk about the Old Republic a couple times in the Clone Wars a couple times, and the
No,
fact
I
that
don't
the
mean
rebellion
the
is trying to
old-
restore the Old Republic.
I don't mean
Right.
the Old Republic. I mean like they
Well,
refer to the Republic in Episode 7 as it's still a thing. It's still here. It's still very current. It's still doing stuff.
Well, it came back after the rebellion kind of pushed over the Empire for a while.
Right.
One of the first things, and people seem to forget that when they bitch about, oh, Star Wars was never about the politics. Well, like one of the first dialogues in Episode 4 is a political dialogue when Darth Vader is telling
Yeah.
like Leia, oh yeah, you're stupid, like your stupid Senate, we're dissolving it. Oh, you can't do that. The Senate's going to be super pissed. Yeah, we're dissolving the Senate, so fuck you. Like they have that discussion. So there is still senators in the Senate until 15 minutes into Episode 4.
When they blow up
But it's
Alderaan.
still a
Remnants
thing.
of the Old Republic are all but gone.
Yeah.
Exactly. See, but that shit happens, and it's just these throwaway lines that establishes what the politics of the situation are that are absolutely absent and missing from Episode 7, and we're missing that kind of connective tissue to make us give a damn about them blowing up a Republic planet.
Right.
Understandable.
Like a good example is like they say, "Oh, we're going to destroy that Republic planet, and they're going to lose all their support." Well, what support? We were never shown support. We don't know what they lost, so why would we care?
Right.
And it's unfortunate.
Well,
It's still a
gentlemen,
good movie.
I've had an honor. Seeing as it's 11:30 and I have to be up at 5:30, I will talk to you guys later. I had fun.
Cool. Thanks for sticking around, man.
No problem. I had fun talking, guys. Hopefully, my new stuff will be up soon, and
Well, I'm looking
you
forward
can
to it.
join us. Anyone's welcome to join us. But have fun talking about Star Wars. I will probably pick up the rest of this as soon as it goes live on iTunes.
As the studio manager, I want to give a quick plug for Charles before he leaves for the listeners. InkedGeekStudios.com/lightsabers. You can find out a little bit of information about what his show is going to bring. The RSS information will be there once it's up. It is, what is it? Is it, is it LNS show, LNS podcast on Twitter, right?
Yeah, LNS podcast.
So
yeah.
at LNS podcast on Twitter, go ahead and follow that. And stay tuned. Should be coming sometime in January, right? Maybe
Yeah,
January,
we're
February,
looking-
somewhere in
we're
that
looking
ballpark.
towards the end of January.
Okay, cool. So January, February.
But yeah, it's gonna be Star Wars and Doctor Who and just nerdy stuff because I am new to the Doctor Who scene, so I've just started watching it.
Cool.
But
So late,
yeah,
late winter, early spring, somewhere in that ballpark.
yeah, if winter will ever actually start.
Yeah,
But,
don't ask for it. We're
but,
enjoying
alright,
it
guys,
here.
have
All
fun.
right, man. Have a great
I
night.
will-
Thanks for joining us.
No problem.
Hey,
Thanks.
Charles.
You. Thank
See
you,
you, dude.
guys.
Nice to meet you.
Cheers,
man.
man.
See you guys.
Silence.
Did everybody see this in 3D?
I did.
Nope. Not
I
interested.
I was unimpressed. I thought it looked good.
Really?
The 3D wasn't bad, but I don't think it added anything to it. One of the comments I made, again, I got the the Warcraft trailer. It's not the World of Warcraft trailer, but anyway, I got the Warcraft trailer, and one of the comments was that what I made was in that 45-minute long trailer, there were more 3D effects in that trailer than there were in the entirety of Episode 7. But it's a
See, I don't know.
it's a CGI movie, so it makes sense. But it added depth, but you certainly didn't need it to enjoy it. Like it didn't make like Transformers. They're horrible movies, but when you watch them in 3D, they look cool. And And it
Not
adds
wrong
to
there.
it. This movie, I believe, was just as enjoyable in 2D as it was in 3D.
Oh, I'm sure. See, I just, as a rule, don't care much for 3D movies, other than animated movies for the most part. I think animated movies look beautiful in 3D, but
Yeah. I mean, they're intended
you
to
know-
be in 3D. Yeah.
yeah. But I really thought this was, of the 3D live action movies I've seen, that this was probably my favorite visually. I thought a lot of the effects in it, I enjoyed more. I thought 3D. The oh, and it just left my mind. The giant ships that they have in the one that she's kind of like going around in the Star Cruisers.
Star Destroyers.
When they had, yeah, the Star Destroyers. When they had those, and that was in 3D. I mean, we really felt like we could just reach out and touch that, and that was right there and just looked beautiful. So, I mean, for my money, I was glad I went and did the 3D thing for this. But
And okay, so you two said you didn't see it in 3D, right?
I did not.
No, JF, you didn't?
No, I saw it in 2Ds.
Okay.
I don't hate 3D, but I'm very much like the same opinion. Like I prefer to see animated features in 3D because they seem to translate it better.
Mhm.
But otherwise, I'm fine just doing normal 2D.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think I would miss anything not seeing it in 3D either. And typically, I reserve my 3D movies for different things too.
Pixar.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Pixar-
yeah.
I've never seen a Pixar movie in 3D that wasn't good.
And horror
And
movies.
that wasn't visually stunning in 3D.
Horror
Mhm.
movies in 3D are pretty fun too. Like the Friday the 13th in 3D was pretty cool.
Campy, but yeah.
Yeah, Sean. So since you and I won't stay on this too long since we're the only two that saw it in 3D. But which scene stood out to you the most as like beautifully 3D?
well, I thought the Star Destroyer I thought was really well done. Some of the scenes with the Millennium Falcon flying through the downed Star Destroyer I thought in 3D was really excellent. And I also like this for completely other reasons, but when Kylo Ren stops the blaster shot in midair.
Okay,
man.
that was cool in 3D.
That was
Yeah.
cool
Okay,
in
and
any
this-
dimension.
Exactly, yeah. But
A-
seeing it in 3D was really interesting, the way that was shot, I thought.
Because it goes
Little-
around the blast.
Little
Yeah.
details like that kind of lead me to believe that there's a little more to Kylo Ren's power than even he is letting on.
Yeah, because that didn't seem like somebody who was amateur in the Force.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's kind of that's huge. Like the
That was kinda
ability to do
badass.
that.
My
'Cause we
thought,
have yet to see anyone who can simply just, pause laser beams.
Right.
yeah, we've never seen that before. But my thought about Kylo Ren is that he's his raw power in the Force is really like he's strong with the Force, but it's all raw power. It lacks the refinement of say someone like Darth Vader towards the end or the Emperor. Like he's not at that point yet. That's what Snoke means when he says like we need to finish his training. And that's probably why he sucks at with lightsabers
Right.
compared to
Yeah.
what he should be.
Just a quick welcome to Peter. Hey, dude.
How are
Hey,
you?
Peter.
What's up, Pete?
Oh, nothing much. Just
All right.
listening to you talk and putting together my Lego thing I got from the Tadpool Secret Santa today.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, nice.
Well, we've been
Cool.
babbling for 2 hours. You got anything to say?
No, I'll just pipe in if you say something that catches my thing.
Sounds good. Sounds good. That was a Lego thing, or that was a Star Wars thing you got, right?
Yeah, a Lego speeder. It's
Oh,
got-
cool.
Oh,
Too
hey,
dark.
check this out. Hang on.
This is great radio.
Yeah.
Like let's look at stuff on camera. Oh, nice! I saw that one
want
today.
One of those.
The First Order TIE Fighter.
Nice. I have Poe's X-wing,
Which for some reason is a 2-person fighter, whereas the old ties were 1 person.
Well, it's because this one has a turret underneath that can shoot 360. Well, probably not 360 because the sides are a problem, but
Yeah. You don't
I
want to
see
shoot
no
through those.
turrets.
and Finn just happened to learn how to use it the same way he just happened to learn how to use a lightsaber.
Yeah. Well, I mean, see, I think so. the only explanation that I could think about for that, because I did think it was kind of convenient that he could just pick up weaponry. I mean, Stormtrooper, they have whatever training that they were imprinted with, imprinted with in their training as a Stormtrooper,
Right.
because clearly they were all mind controlled to some degree or something.
Yeah, raised from
I'm not
birth.
really sure how their system
persuaded.
works, but they were probably, at the very least, relatively familiar with multiple weapon styles to some degree. Like, if to swing a sword, you swing a sword. I mean, pointy end goes that way.
Okay,
Just don't
the,
kill
the
yourself.
fact that you swung a sword in such a way shows you know nothing about swinging a sword.
Well, I mean, and clearly Finn didn't either, aside from this.
Right.
But you instinctively you're like, oh God, block, oh God,
Right.
and he
But-
knew,
but
he
he-
knew enough to
Hold his
not
own
die
against the
instantly.
Sith.
Oh, nice. I like that, dude. That's cool.
I don't even know if
Oh.
you could technically classify him as Sith.
Who, Kylo? He's an
He's,
apprentice.
he's not a Sith, but he's something different.
He's an
hipster
apprentice.
Sith.
I like the hipster Sith better than the poser Sith. I think it feels more accurate.
Nice.
Why is Finn the only stormtrooper that's able to shoot anything? I mean, that's always been one of the great jokes about Star
Okay.
Wars is that the stormtroopers never hit anything.
Actually, I noticed
the
a lot of the
He's a crack
stormtroopers.
shot. Oh, it's the helmet. Okay.
It's the helmet.
Well,
All right,
there's
I'm
also
willing
the
to buy that.
theory. There's a theory that in the original series, the original trilogy, that the stormtroopers were not hitting Han and Luke and Leia because they were under orders not to kill Vader's kids because he knew, and it makes sense if you read the theory completely. I'm positive that's not what they meant to do, but it's a way of looking at it.
I mean, yeah, it makes
But
sense, but
Vader-
it's silly theory.
Vader didn't know Leia was his daughter until the throne room on the second Death Star. Because you feeling for sister. Oh, he's
yeah,
a
yeah, that's
sister.
right.
Oh wait, there's a sister. We can totally dispose of Luke now. We have a spare.
Right.
Yeah.
Kill him.
Kill him.
And
Yeah, I
I'm
like
still
the
pretty
helmet
sure
theory.
that those helmets. Yeah, I'm wanting to bet those helmets had some element of mind control too, because the way Finn kind of came out of things as he did, it wasn't so much like PTSD as it was coming to a realization,
Like waking up.
that
Well, that's why Phasma was so upset that he had his helmet off. Who told you to take that helmet off?
I think there's a regulation thing. I mean, I'm
that's
like-
probably the reason for the regulation, though.
Well, not necessarily, because I mean, wouldn't it be? I mean, that's part of their uniform, and if you're on a military installation and you're supposed to be in uniform, and you take your coat off or take your helmet off, I assume a commanding officer would chew you out because you're
I mean,
out
that-
of uniform.
But we're talking Star Wars here.
Absolutely.
I mean, in the Star Wars universe, and that's the reason on paper.
Right.
But in between the lines, I mean, it could be pretty safe to say that those helmets may have some element that is controlling the stormtroopers.
Right. Yeah, but there's also, I mean, again, ties to reality, but there's in every war where there's an evil dictator, World War II with the Nazi Germany, there were plenty of soldiers that the more and more shit that they saw the Nazis do, the more backed out of it and tried to get away and tried to run and tried to escape Germany. So maybe it was just, I mean, he wasn't seasoned. That was his first battle. And he's like, I don't want to do any of this.
Well, true.
So, but
I mean, yeah. I mean,
again,
that
it's
could
all
be
conjecture.
explained-
There's a whole bunch of theories and
And the thing is, it explores something that's never really talked about in Star Wars because it's never been relevant. But the idea of stormtroopers having doubts and questioning what they're doing isn't necessarily out of the ordinary. I mean, this in any war, you're going to have deserters on both sides, people that just don't agree or just don't want to participate in the fighting and just don't want to get involved. And Finn is basically an exploration of that, but put into a situation where he's not just deserting, and he's got this robot, and he's come to the attention of the higher ups in the the First Order. So his story becomes interesting to us, but there's no reason to believe he's the first and only stormtrooper to defect.
But didn't his father do the same thing in episode 5?
Whose father?
Finn's. It's not Lando's kid. That's Lando's kid, right?
No.
I'm just saying that because he's black and you're racist.
Lando's not the only
No,
white guy
I don't
in the
actually.
universe.
I was just making the joke because
And we've had this discussion
I know.
before, Nate.
Well, because every single comment post is like, Finn must be Lando's kid. And every single response is, yeah, because there's one black guy in Star Wars.
Just like Friends.
Right.
But here's the thing. Imperial Star Destroyer usually carries, like in the original series, according to Wikipedia or Star Wars Wiki, had 9,700 stormtroopers. How did a guy that worked in sanitation end up on the landing crew for such an important mission?
Oh, that's a good
Worked in
question.
sanitation on the Starkiller base at that.
Yeah.
Not even on
Yeah.
a Star Destroyer.
That's a good question because I never connected that.
How did he
when-
make it to Captain Phasma's division?
Well, here's the question. He's been a stormtrooper his entire life. When was he on sanitation? When he was like 15?
Oh, that's
That's
true.
possible.
Because they
But-
probably don't send them out to kill
if
for
I,
their adults.
If I say, oh man, I can serve soft serve ice cream, I've worked in an ice cream parlor. Like, I'm not necessarily talking last week. I'm talking when I was a teenager, right?
But the Starkiller base has only been...
No, they did not. They
Operations.
did not build that in 2 weeks. Like, it's the first time they shoot it, but they've been building that sucker for a while. And if you look at a construction site, they have facilities. So.
Okay, so was that a planet with a base built into it, or was that a base built and then a planet grew on it?
Yes.
I asked 2 questions.
I'm thinking
That is the answer to both.
Okay.
I'm thinking it was a planet that they built a base in it, because would the Empire actually build something from scratch and then grow trees on it?
and then add foliage.
Yeah, well,
and enough water to have snow?
That's true.
Well,
Yeah,
the only reason it
how
had
long does
snow
it
is
take to
because
have a-
the only reason it had snow is because it's out in the middle of space and it takes out stars, and so everything's cold.
yeah, but you still need water to crystallize to make the snow. But the thing is, like, you don't want to. This is the part where you don't want to think about it too much, because if you wonder, like, oh, did they build a planet and then an ecosystem formed on it sufficiently that there's trees, or did they carve out a planet and put like a gun in it? You don't want to think about that, because then you have to start to think it sucks up a sun, so that means the entire mass of a sun ends up in the planet. Shouldn't the gravity of the planet increase a fucking lot and crush everyone?
Well,
Like, there's a lot of
well,
questions.
that being
happen.
said,
That's just science.
My quick answer to that is probably not, because I don't think it was a coincidence that they were counting down to the second when that energy was at full capacity, because I would like to believe that they knew, for that scientific reason, that if that cannon was not launched within a few minutes, maybe a few moments of it being full, it could be catastrophically disastrous.
Absolutely,
It
but the
couldn't
thing
hold
is,
that much energy.
Right. I also liked how when it blew up, the sun reformed. I thought
Yeah.
that was really cool.
it's a tiny sun, so I'll give it that.
But the thing is, if you have a super weapon that gets its power from a sun, and if you had fired it a second time, the sun would be gone. Is that really something you want to put all your stuff into building? Yeah, we fired it twice. We're gonna fire it again. We gotta find another sun and move a planet.
And did they ever have to fire it? I mean, think about our solar system. If we had the capability of sucking up all the energy in the sun, couldn't somebody just suck up the sun and then just fire it off in the middle of nowhere? We're still all going to die. We have no life source.
No, look,
Like,
Star
whoever-
Wars has never
whatever-
been about the science.
Whatever
and I think
planet they
it's-
sucked that sun from, they're fucked, regardless of whether they blew Starkiller Base up or not.
That's the thing. Like, you can't think about the science too much in Star Wars, because Star Wars works on Doctor Who levels of science, meaning we really fucking hate science. So it's that's the fantasy side of the
Fair-
sci-fi fantasy
fair
in
enough.
Star Wars.
Fair enough.
All right, gentlemen, I am going to have to bug out myself. I'm at my girlfriend's house recording tonight, and she has to get up for work tomorrow morning. So I'm going to vacate. But thank you so much for having me on. This has been a blast. And, let me just say in closing that this is, I think, the fun part of Star Wars. I got to go see this with my kids, my older kids who are now 13, 17, and 18. And these are the conversations we've been having since Thursday night when we went and saw this. And I think this is the cool part of it. And yeah, we're going to nitpick it and we're going to find little cracks in it. And hopefully, like JF said, don't let it ruin the experience. The experience is the most important part of it, I think. So,
right. Oh, I don't think any of us would have been here if we didn't love it.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
no,
absolutely.
My experience is still not ruined. I thought it was a fantastic movie.
I had a lot of fun.
Definitely.
Yeah, from
Well,
that
Sean,
first moment of hearing that music swell up
oh, yeah.
right through to the end was just, fantastic.
the
and
goosebumps-
I'm so glad it's back.
The goosebumps never went away for me. And actually, even you mentioning the music brought them back a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just that feeling of, okay, it's here. All the waiting is over. We got through the prequels, we got through whatever, and now, okay, Star Wars is back, and hopefully it's going to be what it is, what it was meant to be. So.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Sean, thanks a bunch for coming on. It was fun.
It's always cool to hang out with you, Sean.
All right, thanks, JF. Michael, I will see you Tuesday night.
Yes.
Guys, enjoy yourselves. Have fun.
See ya. Night.
Bye-bye.
Really quick wrestling reference for Michael to get. It's kind of like the original trilogy was The Undertaker of the 80s, and the prequels was like that American badass crap. And then now he's back as the dead man.
Yes.
Like, it was enjoyable, but it wasn't really The Undertaker.
Yeah.
But here's where I'm coming from with some of my analysis of it is I'm one of the reasons why I don't like I've analyzed and I'm overthinking this movie is remember when people have been showing like videos of when viewers were walking out of the prequels and everybody was excited and everybody seemed to love it, etc. And we're seeing the same thing now. Now there's a lot of hipster cynics saying, yeah, but you can see in their eyes that they think that Star Wars is dead. Look, psycher, I know you have powers beyond our reckoning and you can look into the mind of people in the past, but these people walking out of the prequels, even out of episode 1, had a good time. Like, people were fairly raving about it from the first days. And it's why I don't want us... Like, I love the attitude that we have right now in this virtual room where we know we can analyze, we know we can criticize, and we know we can deconstruct without letting it harm how much we like it. But the internet in general is nowhere near as smart as that. The internet is like a dumb teenager trying to prove how hip he is.
Oh, yeah.
And I am worried that in 3 months, 6 months, a year, people are going to point to the mistakes that we're doing right now in a very lighthearted, very optimistic manner, but do it like in a very aggressive, this is garbage, it's shitty, fuck JJ.
Movie you loved so much.
See, but
exactly.
BuzzFeed has 15 things that were wrong with the Star Wars movie.
I don't necessarily think they're going to have time to, though, because like in that time frame you gave, 3-6-ish months.
Yeah, because in 6 months we're going to get the hype for Rogue One.
And then the following May after Rogue One is Episode 8.
Yeah.
So it's not.
So it's going to be after all these movies are out that people are going to start shitting all over
them. Well, the thing is, I don't think they're going to have time.
It's not going to be an after because Disney has plans for Star Wars movies for like the next 10 years.
The rumor that I heard, and again, rumors, but I can get excited because I'm a fanboy and I'm excited and I love this storyline and I hope there's some truth to this rumor. As you guys are aware, Disney canned the EU. And I always feel weird saying that because I feel like they just crossed out Europe. But
they also canned which one's SWTOR?
That's okay. Now hold on. Don't jump the shark. That's where I'm going. Patience.
Okay.
Patience.
That's not what jumping the shark means.
Shut up. Don't do whatever. Insert clever, witty line here that means whatever he just fucking did.
I'm sorry.
Shut
Continue.
up. Damn you, JF.
This is the best. Go on, Nate.
Anyway,
speak your mind.
so when they did take out the EU, they left in the Old Republic. Then, like 3 months later, they were like, never mind.
wait, never mind.
It's gone. What I heard was we're getting 7, Rogue One, 8, Boba Fett, 9, Han Solo, 10. Then the spin-off movie will be The Offset. And then the following will be Star Wars, The Old Republic, Episode 1. So we're going to have basically what is the Skywalker saga. It will continue with Episode 11. We'll have the spin-offs that will go in between. And then, so it'll be Old Republic Episode 1, spin-off, Episode 11, spin-off, Old Republic Episode 2, spin-off, etc., etc. And I hope that's true because I love the Old Republic story. I know that they would change it a little bit, and that's fine. They'd change some names and stuff like that. They have to. SWTOR's an MMO. There aren't millions and millions of Sith in the galaxy. It doesn't make any sense. There's no continuity to it. They have to change it in some way. But it would be like, imagine the amazing Jedi versus Sith wars they could have if they made an Old Republic movie.
And basically show us where some of these rules that the Sith have come from, and some of where the Jedi Order made their own codes and stuff like that. It would be very interesting to see where all that originates from.
Right.
Oh, I can't wait to see Korriban. That's going to be
awesome.
Oh yes.
You know what I don't want to see? Boba Fett and Han. Those characters are amazing as they are. Over-explaining characters who have so much mystique. I'm terrified of what it's going to do to them.
If there,
I wouldn't be surprised
they're
if they did the Han and Boba Fett together as like two sides of a story, like, and maybe not even having them meet each other. But
the thing about Boba Fett is that he's such a marketable moneymaker.
He is, and so is Solo. And now that he's dead,
okay, wait. There is one way, because there's something. Who here's seen the Clone Wars series?
I've seen some of it.
I saw it.
I've seen it.
Okay, because they nailed something about Boba Fett that is amazing. If you remember clearly, every time Boba Fett shows up in the Old Republic's episode, he's always got the same pattern where everyone is amazed that Boba Fett exists. Like, oh my God, man, Boba Fett, he's like the best. He's awesome. Everybody thinks that Boba Fett is just the bee's knees. Like, even when he's a kid, like you have, what's her name? Or a saying, like just going, oh no, you got to listen to Boba Fett. Like, yeah, but he's just a kid. Yeah, but he's Boba Fett, right? You got that. But every time he's still a complete fucking incompetent. And it seems like the writers of Clone Wars, they looked at the original trilogy and they went, yeah, everybody's losing their shit about how awesome Boba Fett is. But in the end, Boba Fett is just a little clever because he was able to track Solo, but ultimately a buffoon and an idiot. And they reproduce.
He's resourceful, but that's about as far as he goes.
If they make a Boba Fett movie where it's just this, like 3 times, once in Act 1, once in Act 2, and once in Act 3, and telling a story arc over all that, but keeping to the Boba Fett template, as I now call it.
So he's like the clumsy hitman?
No, basically, like, he's resourceful, but otherwise he's Inspector Clouseau.
Right.
You give me that Boba Fett movie, I'm in. I'm sold. But you give me a Boba Fett movie where it's just like fucking an hour and a half, 2 hours of him being cool and awesome. It's like, fuck that. That's not Boba Fett. Boba Fett falls into Sarlacc pits.
Right.
That's what Boba Fett does.
See, I was gonna say the one way I would like a Han Solo is for one, and I hope Disney doesn't make this mistake. They don't need to be origin stories. We tried that in the prequels. It doesn't work.
We already got Boba Fett's origin story.
Well, a little bit, yeah. A whiny little kid. But
he's not whiny. He's just
whiny
like
little kid with daddy issues.
Right.
You know,
but if they do, like, for example, Han Solo, pre-Jedi, pre-any of this, back when he didn't believe in the Force and the mumbo jumbo, like he was an atheist of Star Wars. If they kind of do it as like a young Indiana Jones, but young Han Solo, where he's just going on scavenger missions, he's going on smuggler missions.
Isn't
only if they get Chris Pratt to play.
Well, that's what I was hoping, but from what I hear, they're aiming for like a 19 to 22-year-old Han Solo, and Pratt now is older than Solo was in Episode 4. Or Harrison Ford.
isn't the Han Solo Adventures novel still in the continuum?
That I
idea.
don't know. I can double check it really quick.
Because isn't Han Solo's wife one of the characters from
Well, that's
from like the Mine Harp of Waru or whatever?
that's in the new comic book. His ex-wife, the cat lady, that's in the new comic book.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they got. I'm pretty sure that is alluded to one of the Han Solo's adventure novels, because I do remember something about going into like a casino and trying to run a fast one, but I could be wrong.
According to this wiki article in regards to the Han Solo adventures, listed as part of the extended universe. So my assumption is it's no longer canon, but I could be wrong because these weren't created. It says that they are incorporated into the timeline of the rest of the Star Wars EU, contextualized in interludes in Rebel Dawn, and some other things. So I'm going to assume not part of the canon, but I mean, again, they could. It's very similar to how, Han's son was Jason, and he went to the dark side because Luke failed in training him, and then Luke became exiled. Like that happened in the EU in one of the books. So they're obviously, basically, they just wanted to kind of make it their own. They're paying respects to the works of art in the EU that they respected.
They're like, hey, these are some good ideas. We're going to use a couple of these, but we're going to do it our way.
Right. Like I would love to see something, again, not word for word, but in light of like maybe like the Thrawn trilogy. Like that would be awesome to see on screen. But there was so much garbage in the EU that they had to wipe it out. Like it just wouldn't have worked. Like, and people have been like, oh, well, that doesn't line up with this book written by this author and that five people bought.
It's not just that. You have to put yourself kind of in the shoes of people who want to create stories in that universe. And if they're in this cage of lesser material where they're surrounded by all these expectations based on stuff that already exists, I mean, for episode 7, where could they go if they didn't take out the extended universe? It's already been told 2 or 3 times. Like their hands would have been so tied, it would have been a retelling of something that already exists. And as an artist, as a creator or a storyteller, imagine how frustrating that would have been.
That, and they would have probably had to pay all kinds of royalties for those sorts of for those stories that have already been told.
That could be true. Let me ask you this, JF. As I believe the only author of the four of us, just out of curiosity, in your opinion, if you were one of the authors of an extended trilogy book or a trilogy, how would you kind of feel having it being recognized as canon all these years, and then having a new owner just coming out and saying, "Nope, your book doesn't matter anymore; it's scrapped."
Well, the thing is, I don't think it would really matter if my book was regarded like say the Thrawn trilogy and all that, like Heir to the Empire. They all have, first of all, they've had their heyday, they've had their moment. The fact that LucasArts and Disney are bringing attention back to these books by saying that they're no longer part of the EU probably increased their sales for a little moment, which as an author is always good. And also, the thing is, Disney didn't say these are crap, these are no longer good. They're just saying don't expect us to pay respect to those stories in the stories that we're telling because we're telling new stories.
Right.
That's why they didn't label them as being in the garbage collection. They're in the legacy collection.
Right.
They're all fan fiction now.
Exactly. Well, yeah, except approved fan fiction, just no longer canon.
Right.
So as an author, I don't think it would bother me that much. Like, it would bother me if I would have put out a book and 2 weeks after it came out, they would have done that to that book.
Right.
That
actually happened to the Darth Plagueis book. The Darth Plagueis book got released and decanoned very shortly before the purchase was made, and very shortly before before everything was decanonized.
Yeah, for that guy, I feel bad. For the other people, like, because the Thrawn stuff, like, is ancient, and the Heir to the Empire, like, these are old books,
like prequel books, right?
I'm actually listening to the audiobook version of The Last Command right now. Well, not right now, but today.
You guys aren't entertaining. I'm listening to an audiobook.
Boring. No, I feel that it's one of those things that you kind of risk if you're writing for someone else's property also. Like anybody that's writing for Star Wars and thought that they owned a piece of Star Wars, that's delusion.
Right.
Like you're writing for someone else's universe, for someone else's license. In the end, they own it.
Well,
so
even with that, the latest Bible movies like Noah and the one with Moses.
I don't know. But
The directors take the story and just do whatever they want to it. It's like to have a Star Wars novelists think that they're gonna make a movie exactly the way you're doing it. Well, we've got a story that's we'll switch this up, so no one will know the difference. So it's not really something you're gonna expect that they're gonna do it exactly the way you did it. Even
Right.
though the authors that did the extended universe had to get everything approved before they were able to publish it. They said, can you do that? No, you can't do that because it messes up the story. But then they go, okay, you did everything we told you, but we're still going to check it out.
right.
And I'm still sure that JJ had something to do with it because of the reboot part he did with Star Trek.
Right.
He didn't want to be bothered with trying to go, well, in this episode this happens. So, well, let's say something changed in the past and everything's different, so I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a perfectly reasonable plot device having an alternate universe.
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was great, and allowed someone like me who's never been a fan of Star Trek. I was able to go into that movie and enjoy it.
I don't know about it being great, but it was perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, and to be honest, like JJ wasn't brought on saying like, "Hey, you're gonna do a Star Trek. You can do whatever Star Trek you want, JJ Abrams. You can be TNG, TOS." No, they brought him in saying you're going to do a reboot. So reboot away.
Figure it out.
I think him making it an alternate dimension is actually him not rebooting as much as he was told.
You kind of saving face and keeping both generations of fans happy.
Yeah, I don't see it as
sets, I should say.
JJ going, no, I want to rewrite everything. I think it's the opposite. If anything, JJ went into to his producers and said, we can't reboot. Like, we need to tie it
We'll
somewhere.
get castrated
we need to cast Nimoy somehow. Like,
right.
There needs to be a send-off.
Right.
That is way more likely because you got to remember, JJ Abrams, he's a Hollywood director and all that, but he's also a fucking nerd.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And he, I think it wasn't no secret that he made Star Trek feel more like Star Wars, which I think is why that movie was very popular. It was a Star Wars movie when we didn't have one, and at the time we didn't know we were getting one in 5 years.
Yeah.
So it was fun. I liked it. I mean, I was never a Star Trek fan, and I went to see it. And
I enjoyed the first one.
I didn't
far more than I enjoyed.
I didn't see In the Darkness. I heard bad things about it and didn't bother.
It is it's a fun movie to watch.
Right.
Like, it's fun to watch, but the plot is pretty subpar, and there's a lot of weird technical Star Trek-y details that are troublesome if you care about that sort of thing. Like, one thing that bothered me about it was the fact that somehow the Enterprise can fall from lunar orbit, from a stationary lunar orbit, in a matter of minutes to Earth.
That's because J.J. Abrams and distances in space don't mix. He does not fucking get it. He does not understand. He does not know what to do with characters.
Thanks for bringing us
objects in
back
space
to the
and time.
first thing he brought up on this podcast.
a trip to the Klingon homeworld is just a couple minutes away by warp 3.
And this is why, as much as I'm glad J.J. Abrams was the director for this Star Wars, a lot of his weaknesses come from the fact that he does not understand this whole distance, time travel, meh. Like, and I'm kind of glad he's not going to be doing the next ones.
Right. Now, I have a question. I didn't do much research into this. I saw a couple posts. Are any of you familiar with this actor who's in every single one of J.J. Abrams' movies, and he was in this movie, and some people are saying it brought them out of the movie.
Yeah, the guy that was in Heroes, Grundam.
Greg
Greg.
Grunberg.
Yeah,
He's been in all of JJ's movies, really.
Apparently.
Yeah. he was
Where
in.
was he in- where was he in Star Trek?
Felicity.
So who was he in this? Where was he?
He is one of the X-wing pilots.
Yeah,
He's
Wexel.
beard. He's the beard.
Okay, so
Yeah. He's the Porkins of this movie. I hate to say, like, I
wait,
like
are
Greg
we talking
and all,
about the heavy set guy?
Yep.
Yeah.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah, he was
in Heroes?
he was the the heavy set guy.
Matt Hartman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mind reader.
Okay. See, that didn't like I saw him. I'm like, oh, he's a cool actor. I remembered him from Heroes, and that didn't bother me.
That's my thoughts too.
Like, why are is this just people like? Do they like it too much, so they're trying to find something to nitpick?
People feel very comfortable hating things.
It didn't
people
bring
are
me out of the
shit.
movie. I knew that there were going to be all kinds of random people thrown into this movie
Right.
in one form or fashion. He was one I didn't know was going to be in this movie at all. I was like, oh, it's that guy. Cool. All right.
Yeah, that's like seeing Han Solo and saying, "What's Indiana Jones doing in that movie? What's the president from Air Force One doing in this movie? This is bullshit." Yeah, they're actors. You're gonna see them in multiple movies. Fucking deal with it.
Take
People are
John
stupid.
Ratzenberger in every Pixar movie.
Yeah, that's funny though.
Now I don't know the name, but is he the pig in Toy Story? Is that who that is?
No.
No, that's George Wentz. He's
Oh, okay.
who is he in Toy Story?
The,
He's the T-Rex.
Oh, is
T-Rex?
it? Okay.
No,
No.
that's
No?
Wallace Shawn.
Oh my god.
No, he's the Dalmatian. The not the Dalmatian, the wiener dog with the slinky in between.
the slinky
them,
dog.
isn't it?
No, that's Jim
No.
Varney.
Is
He's
it really?
He's like an encyclopedia. What the fuck?
No, I'm looking to see where the
I co-host
Beard-
a trivia show. Come on.
That's
Oh.
true.
beard guy comes from.
Touche. A trivia show that I lost at.
Oh, dude, you should have saw that last week. I came close to eliminating him before I even got to my bonus round.
Question 2.
We almost more than doubled his score before the bonus round.
Atomic number 2.
And one of my
I guess he was the pig. Yeah, he is Ham.
Okay, that's what I thought. And
Okay,
I
you're
was
right.
right
I'm
to
sorry.
begin with. F
So-
off. Look, I see. This
thought-
is why I won at Trivia Geeks.
So who is George Wentz? Then George Wentz is Mr. Potato Head?
No.
That's
some other old guy.
Hockey puck guy. The old Rat Pack comedian.
Yeah, he's old.
Don Rickles.
There you go.
Rickles.
Ah.
Rickles the pickles.
Oh my God, are we going off tangent or what?
Yeah, we are. Let's get back into Star Wars.
Okay, now
is there Nate? You seem to be guiding this discussion. What's your next question? Crickets.
You know, it
I
takes
still-
me
I
time
still
to
had
think of
issues
these.
with
That's
the
why I
music.
let you guys talk. Yeah, back to Mike. Mike.
Mike,
now-
bitch about the music a bit more.
Found out he was the voice of Kirk's stepdad in Star Trek.
Thank you for derailing the train.
Bring
again.
back my car.
Oh, was it? That's all he didn't. Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. See, I had issue. I didn't have an issue with the music until I stopped and thought about it. And was like, I don't really remember any of the music outside of course, the Jedi anthem and Han and Leia's theme and the theme, the Star Wars theme. But I don't recall anything coming out and being like, oh my God, this is the most awesome piece of music ever. John Williams kind of phoned this one in this time.
Do you think he's sick of doing Star Wars?
Do what?
Do you think he's sick of doing Star Wars?
I don't
Like,
think
oh,
so.
great, another Star
Well,
Wars movie.
And and I can only assume that it was that way because this had to be a Star Wars that felt familiar.
Right. Well, I will.
So
Go ahead.
that's what we got. We got enough old to recognize that the music was clearly Star Wars, but not enough new to where it didn't bring us out of the feeling of what we were supposed to be there for.
But do you think we're falling guilty, or falling, or being guilty, falling victim, however you want to word it, into that whole it's new, it's old, it's the same, it's different. It happens everywhere. Metallica, sticking with music, Metallica.
Yeah, fuck Metallica.
Exactly, that's my point. if you have a band like Metallica who changes their sound and changes their style to try and keep up with the times. Everybody goes, they don't sound the same anymore. They sold out. But then you get a band like AC/DC and people go, every album sounds the same.
I mean, I never liked Metallica from the beginning, so that doesn't do anything for me.
Then you get like David Bowie, who's been everything and everything.
Fair enough. And then the other... Go ahead. And then what?
Well, I think the only thing about the music that I'm happy for is that there wasn't a Nickelback song added to it at the end, so that they could sell, to sell albums. Like it's gonna sell no matter what. And
it's
like
name alone is gonna
Hey,
sell.
come on, think about it. The camera pans in. We see the cloak. Luke turns around and goes, I never made it as a wise man. I never made it as a poor man breathing. This is how you remind me who I really am.
Stop.
The lyrics fit perfectly. Ray is trying to remind him who he really is.
I don't like this scenario at
Blame
all.
Peter for that one.
I always blame Peter.
But no,
for
so,
things.
and then I saw a meme today, and again, the internet's the internet. It's 99% douchebags, and it was a caption of Star Wars and how, they keep everything similar. They play it safe. It's episode 4 in HD. They blew up a bigger Death Star, blah, 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 blah. And everybody complains. And then directly under that was a picture of the all-female cast of Ghostbusters. And they go, they change everything. And everyone complains. It's like they're never going to make everybody happy. And I think maybe one of the gripes with the music was maybe it wasn't as empowering. Maybe it wasn't as memorable. Maybe it wasn't as powerful. But also, it wasn't the music tracks that have grown on us for the past either 15 years from the prequels or 30 years from the original trilogy. So it's new.
Yeah.
Speaking of crazy internet Star Wars memes, have you seen the one revolving around what's it called? Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift?
No.
That's like a very subversive spoiler for Star Wars.
No.
Have you seen Tokyo Drift?
Yes.
Okay. So you remember the character Han, right?
Yes.
And the fact
he was
that
the
Han
Asian
dies.
Dude. Yeah, but he doesn't die until he dies in like Fast and Furious 6. Yeah.
No, he died in Tokyo Drift.
Oh no, he died. He just died in 7, right? Wasn't he killed by
Tokyo Drift takes
Yeah, but
place
Tokyo Drift
at a
isn't
different
canon
time.
anymore.
No, yeah, it is. It's always been canon.
It is, but it's like in the future from
Tokyo. They go back to Tokyo Drift later on. Tokyo Drift takes place, and then they go back in time, do 4, 5, and 6, and then they recap Tokyo Drift.
And they kill him in Tokyo Drift, and then they kill him again in 7.
No, they recap that moment from Tokyo Drift.
Oh,
at the end of 6.
So they retconned it.
No, they didn't retcon it.
What do you mean they recapped it?
It's like a remembrance, like a flashback.
Right, but didn't he die in Tokyo Drift, you said?
He did die in Tokyo Drift. That's what I'm saying.
But then he comes back to life in 7 and dies again?
No, it's a flashback.
It's a Tokyo Drift takes place after 6.
Oh, so when Jason Statham's character kills him in Fast 7 or Furious 7 or whatever, it's actually, whatever. It's you're telling me it's actually the scene from Tokyo Drift.
Correct.
So they just kind of shoehorned it in there.
Correct.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
But
so what is your point?
There's an image meme running around with basically the Han's. They have like a memorial for him in one of the movies,
right?
And then the fact that it's not specifically saying that Han dies, but they're like, always remember or never forget or something like that.
Is he a POW now?
No, it's the fact that Han dies, and that's the
always remember,
subversion.
never forgets the POW flag.
Yeah.
Okay. No, there's a t-shirt company called tshirthell.com, and when the last Harry Potter book came out, I had a t-shirt, and it said Dumbledore dies on page whatever, and I wore that proudly, and all the little nerds got mad at me. They have a Han Solo shirt that says Han Solo dies in episode 7, and it's a t-shirt. They already have it. You can buy it off their website.
Oh no.
I won't buy that one because I respect Star Wars. But it's everywhere. That's sport. Being a douchebag is it's a click on the internet. It's what it is. You know, you have your group of douchebags, and people are going to spoil it. Like I said, I was reading a thing on E-Bomb's World that I want to say it was about Kate Upton. It wasn't even geek related, other than the fact that she is a hot chick with big boobs. And
True.
somebody posted that picture that I described earlier that had Solo with the blade through his chest. It was like people were just getting screen caps and posting them anywhere. That's just the unfortunate, not to get into this, but the whole animosity of the internet.
Facebook profile pictures.
Oh yeah, like completely unavoidable. And that's why, like, one of the main groups I regularly visit is the Tadpool, and I'm glad that we have a community like we do. Where we don't have to worry about douchebags because you have your moderators that, you might get this one movie ruined, but they'll get banned and you don't have to worry about such trolls in many cases. So, but we're coming up on like 2 hours and 40 minutes here, which is typical of JF being on a podcast.
Hello.
So I'm gonna kind of we don't have to call it in the next 5 minutes, but I do want to kind of head in that direction of maybe final thoughts, directions for episode 8, kind of different things. So if we can kind of migrate in that direction and try and keep this under 3 hours, because I have to upload this.
We can try.
We can close the podcast officially and then like just hang out if we feel like it.
No. I don't have any upload space, so I can. And
yeah, well, you need to keep it to a listenable length.
Right. Well, I don't know. I listen to like 5-hour long Magic the Gathering stuff. Well, I guess
that's your problem.
Then let me. Well, I listen.
I'm calling it now. Ray and Ren are brother and sister.
No, they're not. You're wrong.
I agree. Okay. I got two
hold on.
things.
Well, really
Before I
quick.
do my final thoughts.
No. Really quick. Let me back up what I said really quick. Does anybody have to go in the next 20 minutes?
Oh no.
Nah.
Okay, then for the podcast listener, cool. Let's keep talking. We're going to keep talking for a while. If you're bored, turn it off. But for those that might want to keep listening, I will keep recording and I will upload all on the feed.
But for those who are planning on maybe leaving, this is where JF brags like a motherfucker.
Yes. And if you want to hear him brag even more, listen to last week's episode of Mind of the Geek at inkgeekstudios.com.
You did not brag on your podcast that much.
No, I know. I'm just.
But Nate, between you and me, like we've talked about this a bit.
Yeah.
How fucking right was I? I hit a lot of fucking points in my theories.
You did. You were close. Yeah, and
to be fair, I didn't want to be, but
right. No, and I still have there's the little evil dude inside of me that's still grasping onto hope that Luke is the person behind all of this, and he is the evil bastard, and maybe he's Snoke. Maybe he's wearing a mask. There's a reason only 2 people have ever met him. But you were spot on. Not that it was that difficult to guess,
especially
but I'll give you credit.
If what Mike says about them being brothers and sister turns out to be right, like I will have been pretty much 90% spot on.
Right.
Which is kind of disappointing because I like being surprised when I go to the movies.
I think that the writers felt that may have been a good idea pulled from the EU. But I think we may get. I'm almost willing to believe that we're going to get either Rey going to the dark side, at least for a little bit, or it's going to be the whole overarch of 7, 8, and 9 is pulling Ren out from the dark side. But he's going to have to do something that's unforgivable and die while he's being redeemed at the end or something. Like he's gonna go out like Vader.
I hope not, because then it's too much of a reflection of what they've already done.
I hope not too, and I'm scared that they might do that, but I would not be surprised if they did.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. Part of the reason why I want, like, my theory is that we get a quicker redemption of Kylo Ren in Episode 8, and then they go after Snoke in Episode 9 is partially a manifestation of my wish that they do something different from the original trilogy.
I don't think we're going to do a redemption of I mean, unless it is Snoke that kills Luke in 8. We're not going to get a redemption of Kylo that early.
See, I don't think I'd want to see him redeemed. Like it's part of my fandom is I always go for the bad guys. I have a Frostmourne tattooed down my back. I love the Lich King. All of my characters in SWTOR are Sith Empire. All of my characters in World of Warcraft are the Horde. It's what I gravitate towards. I love horror figures. I cheer them on. I laugh at death scenes. I was upset when Jigsaw died in Saw. Spoilers. I like the Sith. I liked Anakin. And I will contest, to contradict the point I just made, the Sith are the good guys. The Jedi are the bad guys. But
that's weird.
I mean, you have to also understand that this is Disney.
Right.
For one.
Well, no, but it's also Hollywood. The good guys are going to win in the end. I get it.
Right. And Star Wars is a very formulaic story at this point. Like somebody else is going to have to go further into the dark side, if not Kylo. And Kylo is on a path of imminent redemption, whether it's too little, too late, or just at the right time.
So kind of like almost be again maybe what he's trying to do, walk in Anakin's shoes, but instead of making the quote unquote mistake of falling to the dark side, he's going to see the light before it's too late.
Possibly.
Right.
I mean, he's going to do a lot more damage in the dark side before he gets to the light side. But I think it's going to, like how Darth Vader ended up. You know, he did all this craziness for how many years?
He destroyed Alderaan.
30 years. Yeah, you know, it took part in destroying Alderaan, taking apart the Republic, everything. And then finally he was redeemed by, you know, finally his
But do you think
son.
if Kylo goes through this trilogy becoming more and more evil, and then at the end of Episode 9 kills Snoke and then redeems himself, like are we just going to have the original trilogy in HD? I mean, is that what we're going for here?
I don't think it's going to be that simple. If it's going to be something like that, I mean, it'll be Kylo and Rey that will kill Snoke together. Like he will finally realize that
as
the
cousins
last family
that
he
they
has
are,
and Rey will be the one thing that's going to stay with him for forever.
Right.
But he's going to have to sacrifice himself to do it, because he's going to have caused so much tribulation by then that he may be redeemed, but he can never be forgiven.
Fair enough.
But that's the thing. It needs to be different from what they did with Darth Vader. Like, he can't just be redeemed and then die 2 seconds later, because then that's Darth Vader all over again. So the idea that him being redeemed, and in a way, like, you can have a very compelling story of him finding his way to the light side, but not necessarily being accepted. Like, he finds his way to the light side doesn't mean that Rey's going to go, oh, okay, fist bump. Like, you killed Han, but that's fine. Like, you're all is forgiven. It may still be, oh, you found your way to the light side? Fuck you still. Like, we're not associating. And they both kind of hunt down Snoke on their own, and it's when they come together and work together that they can finally defeat him. There's a lot of different ways to get a good story out of that.
Or what if...
And I don't so much think that there is an overall happy ending for Kylo.
I think he when he killed his father, I think he eliminated the possibility
at this
of
point,
that.
Especially after that, he doesn't have it. He doesn't get a happy ending.
But what if Snoke strikes down Luke, and then Kylo's still on that tipping point, and he realizes that Luke is his uncle, and that brings him back. Oh, JF just thought of something. Hold it.
Yeah, I did. No, but finish your idea.
That brings him back. So his redemption is he kills Snoke. Kind of similar. We're skirting the line with Episode 6 here. Vader, Emperor, Luke, whatever. And then when he's redeemed, Rey is like, I don't care. You still killed my father. I'm going to kill you. Under the assumption that Luke's her dad. And then Rey kills him anyway, even though he was redeemed, and he just dies. No.
That would make her very, very dark side.
And then Rey turns, and she's the villain in episode 10.
See, I think, well, I don't know.
'Cause-
I think they're going to wrap the Skywalker storyline up at episode 9.
Do you think you? Okay, see, that's another thing I was wondering, and well,
And it's either gonna
hold on.
be-
Let's hold
it's either
that
going to
thought.
be the destruction of all the Skywalkers, or the prosperity of at least one.
Right. Let's hold that thought for a second, because that is a conversation I wanted to have, and I want to know why JF gave his O face like 2 minutes ago.
Well, it's because I was masturbating. So, no. Here's my theory, right? So we've had this through line of the whole balance to the Force, and God knows that there's a whole contingent of Star Wars fans that just wet themselves in hipster fucking lube when thinking of the concept of gray Jedi, which it's like being a good Jedi but without having a code, which kind of makes you a bad Jedi, but whatever.
Makes you an atheist.
So
I mean,
let's-
Jedi and Sith are both absolutes. You
Right.
can't have an in-betweener.
Exactly. So, but here's a theory. So at the end, the Luke is dead because of Snoke, and Rey and Kylo Ren kill Snoke together. And I mean, we've got a couple of movies to go, and Rey might have to face her own demons at some point and redeem Kylo Ren in my theory and all that. What if at the end, the whole point of all of this, the whole freaking end of the saga, is that they found this new order that is neither Jedi, neither Sith. They've both tasted the dark side, one of them way more than the other. And that's the balance to the Force, is these two people that have had this entire saga. And in a way, when Kylo Ren says, I will finish what you've started, when he's talking to that mask, unknowingly, he's talking about bringing the balance back to the Force.
I like that.
And that's he's not that's his redemption, is he doesn't get a happy ending, but he does get an ending where he's training quote unquote gray Jedis.
So basically, there always has to be somebody in the dark side.
Basically,
He's just accepting that role.
But essentially, and it's something that's kind of played with a bit in the in Clone Wars, where they do have they have this sort of allegorical storyline where you have an ultimate dark side character, an ultimate light side character, and it's by playing against each other and interacting, and always the balance is kept by having these two bounce off of each other, having Kylo and Rey not be fully dark or fully light, but kind of being a representative of each side, of each philosophy. That's what brings balance to the Force. I think that would be a satisfying ending to those three trilogies. To that,
Kind of the fact that they
saga.
sort of just their dual existence kind of cancels each other out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
I like that.
So that basically when you have a Padawan that's sliding too far to the dark side, you have that teacher, that sort of dark side teacher going, no, you're going too far. You go to the other class where they teach you to be light side. And when it's the opposite, when the light side get too arrogant and get too Jedi ordery, they go, no, you need to learn you need to learn why there is a dark side. Go see Kylo. He'll teach you some of the bad stuff. And there's this
and Luke
creating this balance.
Luke is the gray Jedi principal of this academy.
Because
Well, no, he's dead at that point.
When Ray finds him, he is wearing gray robes.
That was my first thought. I was like, oh, he's a gray Jedi.
No, because Obi-Wan's not a fucking brown Jedi because he wears brown robes. It's not a uniform. They're just clothes.
It's really late, and I've had a couple drinks, and I was about to say, no, Samuel L. Jackson was the brown Jedi.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Nate.
I'm waiting for JF's call sign.
You're not wrong.
Nate, that's racist. So anyway, no, that I think would be satisfying to me. And I don't know if that translates to everyone, but to me that would be a satisfying.
No, I like
ending.
that. That seems cool.
Because
You hear that,
doesn't-
Lucas? How about hiring me?
It doesn't. Well, he's not
Lucas.
hiring.
Lucas has nothing to do with it
No,
anymore.
Lucas Arts, I meant.
And
It's not even
that's
Lucas
closed
Arts.
down.
It's Lucasfilm. Get it right.
Lucasfilm is still
LucasArts
there.
was the video
Disney.
games.
I'm gonna go straight for the top. Disney.
There you go. Now
Kennedy,
But
Send
like
contact
you when they're talking about that like what JF just said is like the definition of balance. You can't have balance. I'm going to have a balanced diet. I'm only going to eat fruit. No,
Yes, that's
look, that's not balance. Yeah, well, yeah.
Sure not.
So you're going to, like, in the old Republic in the video games, that was more when the Force was in balance because there was
Right.
thousands of Sith forces and thousands of Jedi forces that they balance off each other.
So to say, wasn't Anakin meant to be dark anyway? Isn't that what would bring balance to the Force? Weren't there significantly more Jedi than there were Sith at the
I
time
think
of
it
his
was
birth?
2 to 50,000, something like
Yeah,
that.
so
But balance was never described. Is it a balance of number, a balance of power, a balance of coin collecting? Like, they don't explain what balance of the Force means. I don't think Yoda even knew.
they were
It's
too
like
busy
something,
counting.
something they had on their T-shirts, but
They were
didn't know
too
what it
busy
meant.
counting midichlorians to explain the balance. Can we just all agree in happiness that that M word was not used in this movie?
Yeah,
I will only be 100% satisfied when they do a recut of the prequels where they kind of redub some of the voice work and correct some of the issues and cut that entire fucking scene out.
Yeah. So I want to go back to what Dice Tomato said. Dice Tomato. I like that.
Yes.
1 through essentially what's going to be 9 could be renamed the Skywalker Saga. So it's an interesting concept coming into episode.
It's all about the Skywalker family.
Well, yeah. So it's an interesting concept coming into 10 that it could go somewhere different. Can we call it episode 10 at that point? Does it need to be called something different? Or my other question, before you brought that up, the question that I was going to fork off in a different direction was, this is the first time that we might have to think, assuming we're not going to go the other direction and change it from being Skywalker. You know, the original trilogy was the original trilogy. And back then, you know, when a movie came out, it wasn't a given that there were going to be 6 sequels. That's not how Hollywood worked back then. And with episodes 1, 2, and 3, we knew where episode 4 was. We knew where the end point was. Everyone knew. It wasn't a spoiler. It wasn't a secret. No one could spoil episode 3 because everybody knew Anakin became Darth Vader. But this is the first time in the history of Star Wars where not only do we have to ask ourselves, where's Ren going to go and where's Kylo going to go, but they're also potentially building up for stories beyond episode 9. They might go, I mean, she's 22 years old. She could go on for a while. Adam Driver's only 31. He could go on for a while. I'm sure he's going to meet his demise at some point in this trilogy, but my point still being, so do you think we're going to get a final ending to the Skywalker saga and something else is going to spin off? Or perhaps is that what Star Wars is destined to be because they're the most powerful family in the universe?
I don't think they have a choice but to extend beyond the family because at a certain point, it becomes too much of a closed environment for storytelling. And this is why I want Finn to be that awakening. I want him to be another Jedi or another Force user. I want Force users to come from somewhere else. It's important.
Well, before the Clone Wars, Jedi didn't get married, didn't have kids.
Right.
But they had like 30 or 40 younglings being trained, so they got to be born some other family other than the Skywalkers, because the Skywalker that they had didn't have a father. So like,
well, they were Muggle born.
It was all the. It's something that I don't understand about Palpatine's thing about they're only gonna be the 2 Sith in the universe and no Jedi, and they're gonna destroy all the Jedi. But you're gonna have random people around the universe being born that are Force sensitive, and like there's like what, 1 billion star systems in the Star Wars universe.
Sure.
And so let's say there's like 1 billion planets where people are born, and let's say on the average each one has 1 billion sentience on it, and like let's say even like 1% or 0.5% that's like 100 million force sensitive people being in the universe at any one time. So there was no way that Palpatine was going to be able to keep Jedi from coming back, and there's no way from the Jedi to keep from the Sith or dark side users for coming back.
Fair enough. I will say, I mean, if they managed to work on eliminating the Jedi, like Order 66?
Yeah.
Stupid.
The more and more of them that they kill, the more likely they are to intercept the force-sensitive younglings and convert them to the dark side. So, I mean, that's a possibility. But
and
no
just
difference
to
than
get back to the midichlorian thing for a bit, it's in the Jedi Academy books where Luke was building up the Yavin school. Wedge did find a machine that the Empire used to test people to see whether they're force sensitive. Now, of course, this was 10 years before the episode 1 came out, but it wasn't unheard of in the extended universe that there's something in the blood that causes people to be Jedi or that couldn't be tested.
See, I always wondered why there was huge gripes about that. Like, what? I mean, they live in this universe where there's this amazing technology. There's this amazing magic power called the Force.
Because that's what it was up until someone defined it and put a name to it.
Am I the only person?
It was just a magic power.
Am I the only person that would love to see a movie that takes place like 3, 4, 5,000 years prior, or how many ever years it requires to be, where it would be the origin of the Force? Like, that would be amazing. I would love to see that told. No different than I would love to see what's causing the zombies and Walking of the Dead. I mean,
many people would love to hear that story too, but they don't want it to be some.
They don't want it to be told by Lucas.
Microbial creature
that sounds so
that would
much
be awesome.
like mitochondria. That's part of the thing. It's the mitochondria that causes the Force. No, it's midichlorians.
Right,
so it's not midichlorians.
Could it be so difficult to?
It doesn't matter what they call it. It's the fact that they gave a scientific explanation for what is essentially a magic philosophy, and it takes away from the mysticism. Some of the coolest scenes of Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back are where Yoda says, like, a lot of people say, oh, it was nonsense. No, a lot of it is kind of profound. Like, a lot of people like to bitch about, like, do or do not, there is no try. That doesn't mean anything. Well, it does when you think about it.
And even Han defined it as mystic mumbo jumbo.
Exactly.
Right.
It's so you have this very cool, very mystical, very mysterious thing, and then some dude says, "Oh no, I've calculated it. There's an app for that." Like, fuck that.
Right, but hold on though.
It was
Again,
just all philosophy and belief.
I think a lot of the hatred for the prequels comes from the fact that they happened after the original trilogy, because you are mixing your vanilla and chocolate, sir. You are mixing your original trilogy and your prequels, and I'll tell you why. You are using lines and quotes from the original trilogy to negate the prequels, which I believe is not relevant, because when you are saying that Han Solo said it was mystical, when you are saying that Yoda said it was mystical, and Yoda maybe said a few wacky things, and some of them made sense. I agree. Do or do not, there is no try. That makes sense. If you try and fail, most people other than your mother don't give a shit. Like, you either accomplish it or you don't. Mommy pats you on the back and says, well, you tried your best, but your boss doesn't give a shit.
Exactly. And the whole philosophy behind that is that if your attempt is only trying, that means you're not giving it 100%.
Right.
So
well,
you're not doing.
Right. Well, I don't want to discuss the phrase right yet. We can analyze that more later. But my point being is that. But when we talk about the midichlorians and when we talk about the device that Qui-Gon had and stuff like that, the Force wasn't mystical then. There were thousands of Jedi. They understood how it worked. They understood the science, if you want to use that word loosely, behind it. They had the technology to find Force-sensitive children and to get them while they were young, because the younger they were,
then you're saying that Yoda later on negates all of that science
He
as
went
philosophy
nuts.
when he says that the Force the Force is everywhere around you, binds the universe together. That's that's where the problem is.
But then you're getting into whether the midichlorians is what gives the force to the force users, or is a sign like a flag. So like if you have a high concentration, it's likely you are force sensitive. Not that that's the only thing that gives you the. It's a marker. It's a marker, not a definite thing.
Is it a symptom or is it a cause? Because I can, like, you're telling me, oh yeah, these midichlorians is like these microscopic entities that seem to gather in the blood of force sensitive people. Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. I'm cool with that. I can live with that. But if you're telling me, oh no, the force is generated by these midichlorians, then that sounds really weird, because all the Jedis keep saying, oh, it's in the rocks, it's in the air, it's in the sky, it's everywhere. It's like, there's fucking bacteria in the rocks, dude. I can stretch my disbelief only so far.
And what makes a person so special that they could amass a, quantifiable number of midichlorians?
Because he was not born under traditional birth. He had no father. I fall back to my theory of Darth Plagueis is his father.
We're told that he had no father.
Who was it? Was it one of you who made the comment about how he had a father, but she didn't want to admit to the Jedi that she was that kind of woman? Someone commented on my Facebook post about that, but that she didn't want to admit that she slept with a Sith Lord. I still wouldn't be surprised if Snoke is Plagueis and Plagueis is the father, because Plagueis had the power to create life out of nowhere. I had a problem with the whole no father thing. Like, for me, that was like, I whenever I talk about that scene, I always refer to it as the Jesus moment.
Yep.
And there's a lot, and I don't like to do this a lot because I don't like to bring this up in fun, lighthearted discussions, but there are a lot of religious connotation tie-ins you can bring into Star Wars.
And honestly, that's fine, because a lot of it makes for some pretty interesting story to analyze.
Like, one of the things I always
retell.
One of the things I always bring up, and I said the line a little bit earlier, was how they said they need to get the children young, because if they're too old, like Anakin was, they have the temptation to go to the dark side. And the way I analyze that for my own personal thought as an atheist is they try and get them young, because by the time they're old enough for rational thought, they know better.
But wouldn't Lord, what's his face, Christopher Lee, wouldn't have he been a young child when he became a Jedi too, yet he still went to the dark side?
But, and again, if you want to use that same analogy, how many people start off as believers and then when they get older, they educate themselves further and then they choose to become atheist?
I mean, that is a very, very complex debate, because you have, like, the scientific community is not 100% atheists.
Well, no, I know.
There's a lot of people that still believe in God, that still follow their religion, and they're still men of science, way more than all four of us put together.
And
right.
for those people of science, God essentially fills in the gaps of what they currently do not know yet.
Correct.
Yeah, because, and the thing is, like, to a certain degree, like, I'm an atheist too, but that there is a certain, there's a certain level of intellect that's admirable to someone who is able to be able to compartmentalize their faith and their scientific belief in a way that still makes sense to them.
Oh, definitely.
And a scientist is going to essentially be like, well, it hasn't been proven yet that God doesn't exist, so he can't, not just exist. So,
or just being able to view God as a philosophical principle, as opposed to like, oh no, it's a bearded guy in the sky. No, it's
totally
a set of values.
didn't mean for this to go in this direction.
There's so many ways of viewing that.
Right.
It's such a complex debate that I know that Star Wars kind of asks us to have that debate,
right,
especially when we're talking about midichlorians versus before the mystical force.
Right.
But it's like we could go deep into that.
Oh yeah, no, there's a lot of tie in there, and that's kind of where I make my joke, where I say the Sith are the good guys, because the Jedi run this giant organization and they have these strict rules you must follow, and they have a code you must follow, and the Sith simply want to live free of oppression.
No, that's not what they want.
Yeah,
no, they want to be the oppressors.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Sith philosophy is like there's two roles. There's the oppressed and the oppressor, and we're going to be the oppressor because we have the power.
I mean, both the Sith and the Jedi ultimately want order, but the Sith, well, they want order, but they want their order.
Right.
Well, and it's basically everyone for himself. That's why it's the rule of two, because if you have 12 guys and everyone for themselves, you're gonna end up with only one or two people left anyway.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, it's not everyone for themselves. It's there's only two, and if there's a third, we're gonna someone needs to die. And it's like they have their own rules
Now,
and they're draconian.
the thing I've wondered about that is how, so they shy away from that a little bit in the Rebels series when they have the Sith Inquisitors.
Mm-hmm.
When does the Rebel series fall into the timeline? Because I haven't seen it.
It's in between 3 and 6.
Or
Or 3 and 4.
Yeah.
3 and 4.
Okay.
Closer to, no, well, it's pretty much right in the middle.
Because
between 3 and 4.
Kanan was a Padawan at when Order 66 was
going down.
going out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think it's like 5 or 6 years before A New Hope.
Okay.
And Ashoka has been kind of in and out there too of the series.
Right.
Let me
She
ask.
shows up in the season finale of the first season.
First season, and then
Yeah.
she's in it more in
The
the second season.
A couple times, yeah.
Let me ask, and if this is an obvious answer and I just forgot, then I'm an idiot. But where was the rule of two mentioned?
Prequels.
When the
No.
clone army,
No, it was
it's-
episode 1.
Was it?
Yeah.
When?
Yeah, that's
Yoda mentions it.
yeah,
Does he?
they're always two.
So prior to
Always
episode
two there are.
one, never. Yeah. Oh, I remember now. Yeah, always two there are, never more, never less. But prior to episode one, the rule of two wasn't a thing. Like, did that never existed in the? Did that ever? Do you, as far as any of us know, did that ever exist in the E EU?
I'm
I'm
thinking.
No,
wanting
but
to
I'm not
say
an
it
expert.
existed in the EU before episode 1 came out, but I wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't the case.
I think KOTOR 2 was the thing that caused it to happen, because isn't the whole idea behind this Knights of the Old Republic 2 is that you have to go get rid of all these
But that.
Sith Lords?
But SWOTOR takes place a couple hundred years after KOTOR 2, and you have thousands of Sith. So you still have the Sith table, the table of power, where like the top 5 or 6 Sith, and it's the same concept as the rule of two. You have 6 Sith who are in the position of power, and to take one of them over, you kill them, and when you kill them, you get their seat in the circle of power. I'm just looking really quick. I don't want to keep a moment of like a moment of quietness, but I'm just kind of looking to see if I can find the origin point. So somebody else talk.
Yeah, I was never really sure on the origin either, because like the first time I ever remember hearing it was episode 1 when Yoda mentions it.
Right.
According to Wikipedia, it was by Darth Bane, sole survivor of the war against the Jedi Order at the millennium before Clone Wars.
So
yeah, but I don't
KOTOR.
think I don't think that's in chronological order, because that lists the Clone Wars before Phantom Menace. Yeah.
No, that's interesting.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that more, because I thought about it more as we were talking. I'm like, when was that? Because even this references Vader and Palpatine. I just googled the origin of the rule of two, and yeah, but I have no idea. Maybe somebody who listens to this, if you are listening to this and you know the origin of that, or when it was first mentioned, email in ig.geekaccess@gmail.com. And let me know, because I'm kind of curious now. I bet my buddy Groovy could tell me, because he's a pretty wacky Star Wars nut job. Like crazy. Anything else? JF got awfully quiet.
Oh, sorry. I'm trying to answer someone's question from someone about maple syrup, because of course.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, I just put Mrs. Butterworth's.
It's not Keith that's asking about it, is it?
No, no, no.
No. Okay.
No, someone was like their schedule got changed, so now they're going to be eating breakfast, and they asked what they wanted for maple syrup, and
Yeah.
It's honestly, you don't care. I don't know what
Sith
he's-
brand
but again,
maple syrup.
There you go. No, I'd rather talk about Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
So I have a question for you guys. So most of you seem to have listened to some of the new approved series like Rebels and Clone Wars. How now these series are supposed to be canon. How do you feel about having some of what happens in those series bleed into the movies, or do you feel like the movies need to be their own separate things?
I don't think that there's going to be a whole lot of bleed over from, at least from what's currently out in the series. It may take a while for that to start happening, but I think that they will do it like they've been doing with the Marvel universe. It's there. If you want to go back and get more details on like certain things and events or things that people say, but it's not going to be like, oh my God, you need to have known this before you go into this movie, you know?
Oh no, I agree with you. Like I wouldn't want something like I want the extra material to not be necessary viewing because that would be a pain in the ass.
Right. I mean, it's there for supplement, not for, and not for requirement.
But at the same time, considering that some of these characters are becoming fairly important to the franchise, I mean, if you look at, say, a character like Ahsoka Tano, she probably has more screen time than Luke Skywalker ever had. So and she's apparently being built up to be a key member of the origin of the rebellion. So it feels weird that these characters are just not mentioned, that they're not referenced, and I think dropping their names just as an acknowledgement might be almost not just interesting, but almost necessary at this point if you want to tie in the two universes.
Well, I mean, at that juncture, in the beginnings of the rebellion, I mean, Ahsoka Tano was very important to look. I mean, from what it looks like, spearheading a lot of plans that were going on, but just like what seems to happen a lot in Star Wars, she gets lost in myth. The myth of any of the stories, like who knew about Ahsoka Tano up until now? Well, no one, because to us, she didn't exist up until 10 years ago. And she hasn't been any kind of pivotal character up until, the past year in any relevant history of Star Wars. But it's possible that, the Empire has worked diligently to get rid of the Jedi and get rid of any traces of the Jedi. It would seem to me that her name would even get lost in just obscurity, amongst everything else the Empire has done to just, overrule people.
And
But you gotta ask yourself, like, is that character dead at this point?
Oh, she's dead. Yeah. Anakin will kill her.
Then we got to see that. I mean, this
Oh.
this has to happen somewhere in one of the series.
Yeah, I
Like-
mean, it's going to happen. I mean, I couldn't even begin to think of when it could happen. But Ahsoka has a lifespan. Her character is going to be important enough to motivate the current band of characters in Rebels to go even further, to take their storyline further. And that might even be the end of Rebels at that point too. I mean, I have no idea where they're going to go with her,
And then
but
we'll
she
get-
definitely is not going to survive.
And then we'll get Disney Pixar's X-Wings.
up until the point where we found out who Kylo Ren was, I was sure that it was Ezra Pritchett. Because if you look at the animation of him, he's got almost the same face
You're not
as
wrong.
Driver.
Jesus,
Yeah.
you're not wrong. That would
See,
have been amazing.
My thoughts for a little while, when they first decanonized the Old Republic, before I read the rumor that I read, I thought that they were just going to screw the whole storyline up, but do a little bit of fan service, and they were going to have Kylo Ren actually be Darth Revan.
Ooh.
Because his mask was very similar.
Yeah.
See-
And Revan was huge in the Old Republic, actually. And I won't read this whole, this whole article that I found. But Revan, now this isn't the first time it was mentioned to us, but chronologically, the first time it was ever brought up. The path to the Rule of Two actually started with Darth Revan, who went back and forth from Jedi to Sith to Jedi to Sith. Now, again, no longer canon, part of the legacy story, but that was the origin of the Rule of Two.
Okay.
And then Darth Bane was the one that came out and said,
He actually enforced it.
Essentially, he came out and said that, the bigger we are, we're just going to kill each other for power. So we need to remain small, and by remaining small, we will be more targeted, and by being more targeted, we will then eliminate the Jedi.
Right, because basically have small leadership, large army.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I kind of was skimming through it in the last thing you guys were talking about, and it's interesting. It's on Quora.com, whatever that is. But I simply Googled the Star Wars Rule of Two origin, and it was the 5th link. So if you want to read that, you can Google that and find that link. But it was an interesting read. And again, that ties back into the Old Republic. And I'm actually going through the Revan storyline, the second Revan storyline in SWTOR right now, which is pretty cool. It's a fun game. I look at it as comics. Not every Batman series follows the same storyline. Not every Avengers series. They're alternate universes. They're spin-offs and stuff like that. And, comics have this liberty where sometimes they'll cross the streams and stuff like that. And Star Wars will never do that. But I've had people tell me, like, oh, well, I really enjoyed SWTOR, but then once it was decanonized, I stopped playing. And I'm like, why?
That's a weird thing to do.
It's still it's a separate story. One, it
I
takes place
I
25...
can understand completely why.
It takes place 2,500 years before Episode 1. None of it matters anyway.
But once they hear it's been invalidated, then why does the story even matter at that point?
It's sort of like someone says, "Oh, I love my Trans Am. Oh, there's no more Pontiac. Oh, I'm gonna sell it."
Because
it's not a car company
It's like
anymore.
not watching the Nolan movies, arguably the best Batman movies ever, because they're not canon. It's
the way I see it when it comes to games, and this is something that I find that I see a lot with people, like when they're playing games and they feel like they need a reward to be playing a game, when playing the game itself should be its own reward. It's the same thing for SWTOR. I mean, the enjoyment should come from the experience, not from rewards. And I kind of get that the story in an MMORPG is supposed to be important, but from what I remember of playing SWTOR, it was after a certain, like, once you're done with kind of your class storyline, the story is still coolish, but it's really not, like, the gameplay itself is what's interesting.
It varies class to class.
Probably.
The cool thing about the Sith, it came out in 2011. I don't mind spoiling it. The cool thing about the Sith storyline is you end up taking a seat of power, and you become one of those important Sith. Which again, you can't look at it as canon even then, because what? Every single person in the world who rolled a Sith Inquisitor is now sitting on that seat of power. No, you have to look at it as though you are the Sith in that universe.
Oh, and that brings me back to my question about the Sith Inquisitors and Rebels. I mean, how is that even working out with the whole Rule of Two thing going on?
They aren't full Sith. They're just Force users.
Well, they're dark side Force users.
They're like cadets.
I think the idea is like, oh, I'm going to train a Sith Inquisitor, and if he becomes powerful enough to replace me, then he replaces me. The same way, if I become powerful enough to replace, like, my master, I'll replace him.
Right.
Okay.
So it's basically, like they say, there's always two, like a master and an apprentice, but once in a while, someone makes another apprentice to sort of shuffle the deck, if you will. And I think that's what that's exactly what happens with Anakin. Like the whole point of having Anakin kill Count Dooku was shuffling the deck for Palpatine.
Now, have you seen did you ever find that Belated Media YouTube video that I asked you to find, Nate?
No,
Make Star Wars better. The episode
What
1,
if
2, and
episode
3?
1, 2, and 3
It
were
was
good?
I
Yeah,
bookmarked
have seen it.
but I haven't watched it yet.
You really need to, man.
Okay, I will make that a point to watch that. Is it that good?
Yeah, it is
It's
good.
that good.
Okay. I do want to read this little excerpt from that article I talked about because it talks about the Sith killing their master to kind of take their power. And this says, in the mind of Darth Bane and subsequent Sith followers, once the apprentice can destroy the master, then he or she is more powerful, and it is better for this Sith goal if the apprentice does destroy the master. Through this, theoretically, every generation of Sith master is more powerful than the previous. While twisted, there is some logic to this. The Sith master starts out much more powerful than the apprentice. Theoretically, both the apprentice and the master should be continuously building their skills and knowledge. Therefore, if somehow the apprentice not only catches up to the master but surpasses him, it is a sign that the apprentice is better suited to obtain more knowledge and power. Thus, the apprentice is outpacing the master in learning. Twisted, yes, but not entirely without reason. It makes a lot of sense.
But that's assuming that the death is caused by the same thing every time.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm more powerful. No, I was smart enough to put some poison in your food, and you died.
Well, one would argue that being
I'm
smarter.
not stronger in the Force. I'm just smarter than you.
Well, one would argue that being smarter
yeah.
makes you more powerful.
Yeah.
But not necessarily.
I mean, if you're able to kill your master, obviously you're more powerful.
And they would be able to sense a disturbance in the Force with that poison. Not to reference episode 2, but in the same way that Anakin and Obi-Wan were both able to sense the poisonous, whatever they were, centipedes that were trying to kill the Queen. They sensed
Or
the disturbance.
just a gas
Well,
in the
it
first
was
few
just
minutes of episode 1. It's
Right.
Like,
It was
hey,
just
they're trying to poison us.
Yeah, it was just a life form that was foreign to where they were. Is what they sensed.
Right.
But not as that. I mean, if you're strong in the Force, you can sort of feel the future a little bit. So if your apprentice is putting fucking poison in your Cheerios in the morning, you're gonna go, there's something wrong here. Oh yeah, poison Cheerios, motherfucker.
Well, the assumption to that would be that the master feels some uneasiness in the apprentice, some uneasiness or anticipation.
Exactly.
So
you need to be fucking
that's
smart
gonna
if you
be-
want to kill your master.
Yeah, so that's going to be naturally inquisitive. It's like, what are you anticipating? What are you planning?
So yeah, and yeah, I think like Nate, like if you're smart enough to kill your master, you don't have to just like, it doesn't need to be like force choke versus force choke. It's
Right.
If you dispatch your master, you take its place. It's very aggressive promotion.
Well, you're not really agreeing with me. You're agreeing with the article. I'm not smart enough to come up with that. But thanks for the credit.
I agree with whatever.
Right. But no, it's interesting, and I think that's what makes Star Wars so wonderful. Is we started this podcast episode off as a spoiler cast for episode 7, and it has become so much more in that we've analyzed not just 7, but the prequels, but the original trilogy, but Rebels, and legacy material, and so much of it is left for interpretation, and everyone takes it such a different way. And I think that's what's wonderful about Star Wars, and that's what brings so many people together.
And I hate to say it, like as much as people love to try and they struggle to disassociate Lucas from Star Wars for some reason, I don't know. But that like the part, that very essence that you describe of what's wonderful about Star Wars is exactly what, like that is the main ingredient that Lucas brought to the table. It's that sort of vast universe, those rich, open characters that just allows us to easily project ourselves and imagine, have these very, very wide discussions. That's what makes Star Wars so cool.
Indeed, definitely. Well, I think I am going to head in the direction of wrapping this up. We're coming up on 1 a.m.
Yes,
Oh,
I need
wow,
to get
yeah.
some sleep. I
Yeah.
have a move
or
tomorrow.
or other places where it's almost 2.
Oh, hey, well, you joined in late. That's not my fault. Hey, this is a typical Cards Against Humanity night for you.
Yep.
But a big thank you, a big thanks to the guests that had to take off. Again, Charles and Sean. I won't pitch Sean too much because a lot of pitching Sean is the same pitching that Mike's going to do, so I'll let him do that. But yeah, and a big thank you to you guys, man. This was a lot of fun. This was just a shot in the dark idea that JF and I had last Monday night recording an episode of Mind of the Geek, and it was the after show. We kind of tossed this idea around, and then we brought it up on Trivia Geeks on Tuesday, and this was great. This was a lot of fun. I mean, again,
It was like geeking out about Star Wars is the best.
you bring JF into a podcast, and it's at least 2.5 hours long.
I need to figure out what the fuck I do and stop it because it's going to come to the point where people are going to go, I'm not going to have JF on my podcast. I want to go to bed one day.
Well, you know what it is? And see, again, and this is what it is right here. I'm doing a closing, and you say one thing, and it gets me talking. But that's what it is like one of my biggest gripes with conversation is when you talk to somebody and you express a point, and they go, yeah, okay.
I
Like,
never do that.
and you don't.
I should learn to do that.
But and you give and you feed back, and then that helps feed the conversation and something, especially the media form of a podcast. It's something that's very necessary.
So the thing that
Yeah, okay, I
should
agree.
never happen is a podcast with JF on it and jury,
Oh no!
and let's say John C. Dvorak will never end. It's like the Sharon Lewis thing. This is a podcast.
Here's how that podcast would end. It would be a video podcast, and like about 3 weeks later, people would tune in and just see like these 3 desiccated corpses hanging over microphones. It's like, what happened? They starved to death.
So in China, they die not putting down the video games. In America, we die not putting down the podcast. So, but I will not let you derail this train. So again, thanks to all you guys. JF, where can people find you, sir, on the interwebs?
I don't want him to find me. I just want him to go pre-order my goddamn books.
Okay, go pre-order his goddamn book.
Yeah, just go to you can pre-order my book, The Life Engineered, anywhere that books are sold. So like Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, whatever. Just go pre-order a copy. It's a good book. It's getting good reviews. It's fun. And you can also help me fund my second book, A God in the Shed, by going to inkshares.com and just doing a search for A God in the Shed and pre-ordering 1 or more copies. That would be super cool. Thanks.
Don't forget Overcast. I had to do that
Oh,
last
that's true.
week too.
Yeah, no, you're doing a favor to my co-host, my boss, so to speak. By the way, I should give me a second. I'm just gonna go get some.
Okay. I did that last week too. He's like, I better mention this or Amy will kill me. Oh yeah, I saw this on Facebook. This is awesome.
Check
His
this
Christmas
shit
present.
Yeah,
out. My co-host made me a blanket, an Overwatch blanket.
that is
Oh,
so
wow.
awesome.
That's pretty damn pimp.
Which, by the way, like you can totally order one from her. Like if you go to the Overcast Facebook page, you can find a link to her Etsy store and where you can do custom things. She made herself one for the Horde for Warcraft players.
Wise lady.
So, anyways, yeah, I do a podcast with Amy Frost called The Overcast. You can find it on iTunes. It's a podcast where we do a lot of opinions, conjectures, and analysis about the upcoming Blizzard game Overwatch, and it is awesome.
Very cool. Mr. Mike, where can people find you?
Oh, well, I'm in the Tadpole, Dice Tomato on Twitter at Dice Tomato as well. And every now and then, Twitch, also at Dice Tomato. Stream some games here and there. Lately, it's been Final Fantasy XIV, kind of starting to work that out. And
Nice.
enjoying that pretty well. You can also find me on Trivia Geeks. So every Tuesday night around 9:15 on Alpha Geek. come hang out, listen to the fun trivia, and if you ever want to try to be a contestant on the show, you can always email us at triviageekshow@gmail.com.
Or could
hang out.
someone ask you on like a podcast that they're on at the same time with?
I'm sorry?
Or could someone say, I don't know, a Canadian that's on a podcast with you at the same time would like to say, like, maybe they would like to be on the podcast?
Oh yeah, if anywhere, we'll take anybody. Yeah,
Yeah.
If you want to come up one night, we'll hang out.
I was
right.
there. I was there this past Tuesday, and it was a lot of fun. It was a great show. So, and that was an accidental high school reunion. That show,
Bringing the world together.
which was really cool. That was a lot of fun. Mr. Fisher, where on the interwebs can the listeners find you?
On Facebook as Peter D. Fisher, and I also have a photography page on Facebook, Fishy Digital Photos, and that's fishy with a PH and photos with an F, because it goes along with my my initials, PDF.
Cool.
And yeah, that's about it.
Look at that. He gets invited to come hang out with us and gets a free plug. For myself in the studio, you can find this show typically Sundays at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Are you waving for something?
Yeah, I have another thing to plug.
Oh, okay.
I'll
No, go ahead, because it's all a closing ceremony of mine. If I screw it up,
it's actually related. I can't believe I forgot about this.
it's incestual.
But yesterday I did another video event for Inkshares where me and my co-host from another podcast I do, Paul Inman, we interviewed Gary Whitta, who is the screenwriter for Star Wars Rogue One.
Wow.
Relevant. So I just want to plug the the link to the video. It's a long ass video, so you're gonna have to scroll if you want to listen to only the interview.
This is
but
a
we interview
3.5 hour podcast. I'm sure it's okay if anyone's listening by this point.
True enough. They'll be able, because it's another 2.5 hour podcast.
Of course it is. You were there.
But as we learn, bring yourself some water.
But
when you're
as
watching
you
it,
know-
because I
Hydrate.
don't want to desiccate it. Yeah.
All right, so if you go to bit.ly/1QAHBGN, you'll find it's a shortened link to that video, and somewhere in the middle, I think it's at the probably 1 hour mark or something like that. There's an interview with Gary Whitta, and we talk about, well, we listen to Gary because he talks a lot, and he talks about like the whole creation process and writing books versus writing screenplays, and it's very interesting. He's a very interesting guy to listen to.
Cool. Poor Mike looks like he's falling asleep over there.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
No, I'm not implying
I
JF was
started
bored. I'm
reading
just
some
implying
stuff
you were
for Final
tired.
Fantasy 14.
But all right, let's try this again. For this show, you can catch us typically 5 p.m. Eastern time every asterisk Sunday. inktogeekstudios.com/live. Join the chat room, participate in the conversation. Typically, it's with Corey and Brandon, but they're not here. Yeah, I have my new show, Mind of a Geek. Did episode 1 with Mr. JF Dubois last Monday. Got episode 2 recording tomorrow night with Abby. I don't know if she prefers West or Wessels. I've seen it in 2 different spots in 2 different ways.
I think it's Wessel.
Wessels,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
nuclear.
it's West on the yeah. Anyway, so Abby Wessels, she's cool and she's a lot of fun, and we've kind of been going over show notes, and she's really excited to come on the show, and I am excited to have her on the show. That is
Do me a favor and ask her about Furry University.
Do me a
She'll,
favor, and you know what you can do is
Shut
you
up,
can
yeah.
email mindofageekpodcast@gmail.com and put Abby Wessels in the subject line and ask her any question you want. All the listeners can do it too. That is a pre-recorded show, so we will not be going live, but you will be able to find it and other past episodes at inktogeekstudios.com/mindofageek, and you can also find it wherever podcasts are found, iTunes, Stitcher, any other lovely stuff. But I think that's it. Follow, like, comment, share, 5-star reviews, all that lovely fun stuff. I don't know. It's 1 a.m. I haven't done a podcast this late in a while. On behalf of myself and my hosts here at IG Studios, all of our listeners who do celebrate Christmas, have a safe and wonderful Christmas this coming Friday. You 3 as well, if you do choose to celebrate that holiday. If not, then happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, happy Festivus. whatever you choose to celebrate. And the one that usually works for everybody regardless is next week. Have a safe and happy New Year. So, yeah. But on behalf of our departed guests, Charles and Sean, on behalf of JF, Mike, and Peter, and my two hosts that aren't here, thanks everybody for sticking around for 3.5 hours. We hope you guys had a lot of fun because we certainly did. And have a good night. All right, cool.
Sorry about that late plug. I just remembered and I thought this is relevant. Maybe I should say something.
I'm not even going to convert this tonight. I'm just going to save it as an Audible or an Audacity project, and I can worry about it tomorrow.
Sounds like a plan.
Star Wars. Nothing but Star Wars stuff right on the desktop.
But what I really want to see is them doing the Legends stuff as a cartoon series, like movie series.
Yeah, that could certainly be cool.
Although I'm worried that the executives goes, well, it'll confuse the fans. I don't know whether we can do that or not.
Yeah, no, you know what's funny, when they did that little thing, it was months ago now. They talked about on TMS when they did that Disney Pixar's X-Wing spoof, and like Tom Merritt and Veronica and Brian were like, I saw that, and obviously it was totally fake and fan made, but I'm like, that would be awesome.
To have a Cars
Disney
series
with X-Wings, and just have it be totally not canon. Come on, see, I love those movies. Now,
no, I would be into that too.
To be fair, Planes sucked, but I liked Cars 1 and Cars 2.
Here's the thing, like Cars seemed like a lot of people say, oh, it's the lesser of the Pixar movies, and I thought it was entertaining, but agreed it didn't meet like some of the levels that you see with things like Up and Inside Out. But I listened to it with my dad, who's a huge car fan, and he was picking up a bazillion fucking Easter eggs. Like, says, hey, that's a this, that's a that. It's like, Jesus, like, apparently, from what I understand, the amount of detail and research they put into the actual cars is insane.
No, I don't doubt that. Yeah, I mean, Cars wasn't really a movie that I liked. My son loves it. I don't know why, but he loves it.
As a country music fan, one of my favorite things about Cars is Rascal Flatts' cover of "Life Is a Highway," because that was such a great cover. There's this funny thing on BuzzFeed. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but it starts in Pixar in '95 and goes up to Pixar in 2015 with Inside Out. And it says, what if toys had feelings? What if bugs had feelings? What if monsters had feelings? What if fish had feelings? What if superheroes had feelings? What if cars had feelings? What if rats had feelings? What if robots had feelings? What if dogs had feelings? What if Scotland had feelings? And then in 2015, what if feelings had feelings?
Right.
But Inside Out was so great.
I liked Inside Out.
I cried.
Really
my biggest complaint with Inside Out was I wish it was rated R so Anger could have swore because it was Lewis Black and it would have been awesome.
Oh, do you think there's a cut somewhere hidden deep into the vaults of Pixar where they have
I'm sure
like the
there
same
is.
movie but differently dubbed?
Like,
that would be amazing.
I'm sure there's some outtakes somewhere, yeah.
The best scene for me was when he looked at like the adult keyboard and he was like, look at all these swears or look at these curse words. But no. Well, before we go off on another tangent, it's 1:15 and I need to take my daughter to school in the morning.
School's still this week? Or is it still Wednesday?
She goes Monday, Tuesday, and then she has Wednesday off, and then she goes back New Year's Day is on a Friday, so she probably goes back the Monday after New Year's. My wife handles all that. She just tells me what to do.
Yeah, my kid is off for the next 2 weeks, so they don't go back until after New Year's.
Yeah, they try and being in Maine, they try and cut down on like the scheduled holidays a little bit because they
snow days
exactly, and they don't want the kids in school till fucking August.
Yeah, that'll happen here. They'll build days in to take it. Place of snow days. So far, no snow days yet. So
yeah, we've had great.
We typically don't expect snow days until mid-January anyway.
Whereabouts are you?
Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, our winter hits weird. Like it's
Right.
hit as early as Thanksgiving, and it's hit as late as after New Year's.
Right.
So it looks like it's going to be one of those years where if we get snow
It's
at all,
gonna be
it'll
late.
be after New Year's.
Yeah,
The-
see, up here in Maine, we usually get nailed, and I know I say that with 2 Canadians in here, but like, and this year it's like they're expecting it to be like 65 degrees on Christmas Eve.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, that's good. And what's funny is we have a jewelry store local to here that any jewelry bought after Thanksgiving before Christmas, if it snows on Christmas, it's free, no matter how much it costs.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's a tradition. They do it every single year. But with a 65-degree day on Christmas Eve, I don't think they're getting snow on Christmas. So some people got screwed.
Oh no.
Well, the last 3 years here in the Maritimes, it was February. Like you'd get snow for one day, and then 2 days later you'll get another snowstorm, and then 2 days later another snowstorm,
Yeah.
and then a 2-day storm, and like February is just like a total mess because it's snowing every other day almost.
Right.
Yeah, we could never handle that here because we have years like we have now where it's the budget for a snow crew just